Welcome to the Smark Foundation podcast. I'm Aaron. This is Adam.
Oh, hi, Marks.
And we are here to cover the best in AEW and WWE for the past week. Thanks to anybody returning after joining us for our watch along last week. Of course, we didn't cover any of the shows, so we probably have a bit to go over.
Yeah, we're not gonna go like over it completely though. Like it's sorry, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We'll
I'll
make
provide
mention of
context
stuff
when
maybe, but
necessary. Yeah.
yeah, like I love our watch alongs. I think it's super fun, and also it. I mean, if they're gonna have for a while now, it looks like they were only gonna do a Saturday model for pay-per-views and for PLEs.
Yeah.
For the longest time, they hadn't done a Sunday one until what a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think
a month
it was
ago or so. Yeah.
something like that. And it just seemed natural to do a watch along. You know, like I mean, we would have to. That's a lot of wrestling to catch up on. There are only like so many hours in a day.
Right.
So if you're not watching it live, that means you have to find some time later in the week before the next recording to watch it. And like, ugh, who has that kind of time? We both work. We both work on the weekends,
Right.
like to varying degrees. You know, my hours may shift from time to time, but like for the most part, I don't have Sundays off in the day to catch up with a PLE that I missed, or a pay-per-view that I missed the night before if I did indeed miss it. So I kind of have to watch them live. So if that's what's going to happen on a Sunday, I'm totally cool with doing forever watch-alongs on Sundays. So I think that's probably the plan going forward. So I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry if that's not really your cup of tea as a listener and you want something different from this show. We try to make it as entertaining as possible, knowing that it's the way people watch pay-per-views and PLEs these days is you can always go back and rewatch it. It's not something that disappears after you've seen it anymore with Triller and with Peacock and all those avenues to watch. Once you buy it or once you've seen it, it's always there. So we invite you to, if you want to watch along with us, that is fantastic. We will never be on point live because I have children that need to go to bed at a certain time in a certain way. But on that second watch through, yeah, that's where we come in, guys.
Yeah.
With snarky comments and weird insights and all sorts of stuff like that. So if you want us to be, silly boys watching wrestling and you don't mind our voices since you've already heard all the commentary and you already know what happens anyway, let's watch together. Let's be a part of your second watching experience.
Yeah, it's always fun for us, and I know I'm not the only person who watches that stuff twice. So,
yeah.
But yeah, with that said, we'll go ahead and move right into our lockup, and that's going to be Raw for this week. So these should be pretty quick. I mean, we're obviously building towards Mania. We've got, the same kind of things going on week to week. So we start off Raw with Bianca and Io Sky and Adam Pearce, and then he brings out Rhea Ripley, and they talk some crap, and then they finally make it official that this is going to be a three-way match. So we've got those three for the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. Of course, Bianca pie faces Io again, and Io throws a fit and jumps up on the top rope and drop kicks one of them into the other. And, it kind of leaves her standing tall. Kind of a quick segment, though. Wasn't much going on after that. But, also Adam Pearce, the GM of the show that Rhea Ripley is on, introduced her as representing Judgment Day. She hasn't been in Judgment Day since, last Mania. Bud.
Did she say something?
No, she didn't say anything. She just
Oh,
played her
come
part.
on.
Um,
Rhea.
Yeah.
Rhea, you gotta clap that.
Should have. Um, so then we have a women's Intercontinental Championship match of Bayley versus Lyra. Um, so they made a point to make during this match that these two will be teaming up on SmackDown for a women's tag team gauntlet match to face the women's tag team champions at WrestleMania. So basically,
Wait, Bayley and Lyra?
yes. So I don't know why they're doing that, and it looks like we'll talk about that more later when that happens because I got to expound on that a little bit. But these two are facing each other tonight for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I guess these are going to be, well, I don't know. I guess the women's tag team, there's only one, so it's a cross-divisional thing or, a cross-show thing. I guess the Intercontinental Championship is the Raw Women's Mid-Card title.
Right. But the tag belts cross all brands.
Yeah. Valkyria and Bayley had a pretty good match. It was entertaining overall. It was kind of slow at the beginning, but then it kind of picked up towards the end, and they cooked a little bit with it, and then but Valkyria got the win, which was kind of I almost didn't expect it. I almost expected Bayley to win in some weird fashion that would then kind of put them out of this contention on Friday, but I don't know. I just don't know what they meant for this. Like, really. I mean, if these guys are going to be a team, why are they facing each other for one's title? Because if that title changes hands, somebody's butt hurt.
Which would make it for a more interesting storyline.
Yeah.
But also almost guarantee that they don't win the belts.
Yeah, it'll almost guarantee that. Yeah, and then what, we just changed the hands of the first. We've taken the women's IC title off the first champion with like no build up to do so. That would have been just weird. So I'm glad they did this, but I don't. I mean, the match was good. Justified this as awesome chants from the crowd and stuff like that, but I don't know why it happened. And honestly, I don't know who the heel's supposed to be here. And I haven't seen heel Lyra before, and I don't like heel Bayley. I don't. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. So, yeah, I don't know.
But if they're going after the tag champions, they are heels. So, like, it behooves them to both remain baby faces, right?
I guess so. So then we had a little segment where Chad Gable was like, hey, instead of competing here in my hometown in Minnesota, I'm sick. So he's replaced in his trios match with American Made with El Grande Americano. And we're still doing this. I don't like it. El Grande Americano and the Creed brothers defeat the LWO. And then we have a segment a little bit later where Rey Mysterio sets up a match with El Grande Americano at WrestleMania. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm not really into it. I just don't really I don't really like it. I just don't like the Grande Americano thing. I'm not entertained by it at all. The announcers aren't playing along. Well, one of them is, but Michael Cole is just like, that's obviously Chad Gable, duh. Like, even if it wasn't, And they had tried to position it at the beginning like it wasn't Chad Gable, and by having somebody in the mask appear at the same time as Gable did, but now they've just basically dropped all of that pretense, just pretty much gotten rid of it.
Yeah.
It's just that they just have, there's no nuance to it. It's just kind of ham-fisted. I'm just not really into it. So then this is by far my favorite segment of the night. Jey Uso confronts Gunther, and then they start kind of getting in a fight, and Jimmy comes out to help Jey. And Gunther kind of shit cans Jimmy. And then he grabs up Jay and he zip ties him to the ring. Like to the middle rope, basically. And then he drags up the shit can Jimmy and beats him bloody in front of Jay. Just like what looked like maybe a hard way. Like he beat the guy. He was as bloody easily as Matt Menard was on Saturday night. Like he effed him up pretty heavy.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That was something.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's what Jimmy Uso looked like after this segment. Like Gunther beat the shit out of him. And we'll get to. Actually, hold on. Was that last week or was that this? That was this week, right? Hold on a second. I'm having a little problem here because there was maybe it was on SmackDown. I don't know. There was a promo though. Okay. This is where I had to provide the context. Okay. That happened last week.
Okay.
Gunther beating up Jimmy Uso. And so this week, Jey Uso came out like no yeeting or nothing. He's dressed in like black gear instead. But he basically he asked Gunther, he's like, "Do you got a mama?" And Gunther was like, "Yes." And he's like, "When you talk to your mom, what do you talk about?" And you know, grandkid good, wife good, kids good, career good, everybody good. You know, everything's cool. How's fam? How's mom and dad? You know, all that, right? Yeah. He's like, you know what I had talked about my mom this week? About how I couldn't protect my brother from you. He's like, so now.
Oof.
He's like, and then I had to admit to my mother that I was scared of you. He's like, but then something snapped in me, and I realized that I'm not scared of you no more. And so, that's basically it. It was really. I thought it added a level of a layer of emotional depth. Like after the beating to then this, have been both of the steps in the last couple of weeks have added layers of emotional depth that was much needed. Much needed. Like we needed to justify a version of Jey Uso that was driven to the point of being able to convincingly beat up Gunther. I think what we've gotten in these last 2 weeks is exactly what we needed in this case. Like this world title match and its setup are almost to the bone the exact opposite of what John Cena is doing on his end. Like we are getting what we need from these guys. And after I do my SmackDown review, you'll see that the only person in any of the world title matches at WrestleMania who's not really doing what they need to be doing is John Cena.
Well, I mean, he's not there all the time, right? So
he doesn't have any more. Sense. I don't think he has any more promoted appearances until WrestleMania. So,
do you think he'll call in via satellite or whatever?
I mean, I hope he does something because we'll talk about it on SmackDown because we'll get to pontificate on this on SmackDown. I promise.
Do they still do the via satellite now, or are they
I mean, they did that Charlotte and Tiffany. They did that Charlotte and Tiffany side by side that wasn't live or in the ring or anything.
No, but do they still call it that, or do they have they entered the early 21st century now and be like, oh yeah, this is our Zoom call.
Yeah, our team's call to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Live via Zoom.
Live via Zoom. Yeah, I don't know. So we then get the New Day and the War Raiders for the tag team titles. And this weirds me out a little bit. Because
if they did it here, are they not doing it at WrestleMania?
I think they are doing it at WrestleMania because there was a Smosh finish to this one.
Okay.
They New Day ended up winning this match via DQ because what happened here? I don't really have really good notes on this match. because it was so quick. Like, I expected like a long match, and then by the time I realized like we were well past it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't write anything down. You know, so they. I can't remember how we got there, but oh wait, no, I can tell you why I don't remember this match and why I didn't write anything down and why we got way past it before I remember that I didn't have notes. They brought out Tony Hinchcliffe to be on commentary.
Oh, yeah.
During this match, and so I just basically fast forwarded it through the match. So at the end of the match, though, Ivar blasted. Was it Kofi or Woods? He blasted Woods with a steel chair, like right in front of the ref, and DQ. But then the New Day got, like, I guess they beat up the champions after the fact. It didn't make sense to me, really, and I was fast forwarding through most of what.
Yeah, maybe it would have made sense if you had subjected yourself to a
couldn't do it, man.
Piece of crap.
Could not fucking do it. Can't fucking do it. Won't do it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Can't do it. So look. Okay, so whenever and I've talked about this, I think a couple times on the show before. Where I've talked about like how Joe Rogan had like Jake the Snake on his podcast, or The Undertaker, or DDP, or somebody like that. Like, I really want, like he had Hacksaw on once, and I've met Hacksaw, so I always like watch his stuff. But like he's had a bunch of wrestlers on there, and I don't really. But at the time that these wrestlers were on, I was actually a viewer, because it was mostly like archaeologists and Bernie Sanders and like some wrestlers. To be fair, it wasn't a bad, like it wasn't a right wing thing back then.
Right.
Joe Rogan was like a pot smoking leftist at one point. Now
he just asks questions.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever, Joe. You know what you're doing. So I always talk about those and say, look, man, like these people were on, they had good stories to tell. But then I always have like a caveat, like they had somebody on the show adjacent to the wrestler that was trying his damnedest to ruin the fucking podcast, the whole thing, because he thought he knew wrestling history but didn't really know wrestling history because he's not really as into it as he's pretending he is to people. That's Tony Hinchcliffe. That's the guy whose name I could never remember, who was on these podcasts that would like ruin it, like where I would be like waiting to hear Undertaker tell stories for 3 hours because he was on Rogan after he retired. And I was like, hell yeah, he's like doing that podcast run where he's telling stories. And so I was like, hell yeah, 3 hours of Undertaker stories. He kept interrupting him and like talking about, oh yeah, this time when you wrestled Mick Foley, and like he was telling a story about like Wrestler Court, which I really want to hear about from the guy who supposedly ran it. Like, I'd really like to know what he said happened and all that stuff. But instead, Hinchcliffe's like, let's talk about the cage match. Let's talk about you throwing Mick Foley off the cell. And he's like, dude, I've talked about it like a million fucking times already. Can I, like, you could tell the Undertaker was like, could you shut the fuck up? Like, but he did, like, Jake Roberts talking about, like, his stepmother abusing him, and Tony Hinchcliffe's like, yeah, but that time you had the Cobra bite Randy Savage. I'm like, oh, fuck it, not, it wasn't even a Cobra, it was a goddamn boa constrictor. So, like, I just can't. And this was before he was, what, Puerto Rico is a shit island or whatever the fuck he said. Yeah. Some fucking ridiculously stupid fucking thing. Yeah. These people make me irrationally angry. I hate that I have to like miss what was probably a great match between two teams that I fucking like watch compete. But I had to like, maybe I got to go back and rewatch the match on mute. But I can't, like, anytime somebody like Andrew Santino, fucking Tony Hinchcliffe, any of these people, when they're on there, I'm not going to cover it. Praise God this roast of WWE is not on TV, because I'm not going to cover it. Okay? I'm just not.
Well, even if it was, we wouldn't cover it.
I wouldn't even watch it, to be fair.
Despite the fact of who's posting it because it's just not what we cover. Like it's just not like
It's not wrestling. I'm not going to be
maybe
covering the Hall of Fame ceremony here. I probably will watch it, but I'm not going to be covering it here.
yeah.
You know, I'm not going to spend the time.
Might talk about it on or Calling in the Ring, maybe.
Yeah, we
But,
might, or
we'll see.
I mean, that weekend, the weekend I would talk about
That
it. We're going to be
weekend
doing a
is
watch
gonna be
along
for night
next
two
weekend.
anyway,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll be doing our watch along next weekend. So I won't be talking about that. I'll be live tweeting a lot of this shit on Blue Sky. So if y'all want to catch me there, if you really want to know what I think about the stuff that happens on night one of WrestleMania or the Hall of Fame, this is the place. Yeah, go to our Blue Sky. That's where you'll see me talking about that stuff because we're doing a watch along for night two this year. Okay, so moving on past the bullshit because then we had another really entertaining thing. We got Tony Hinchcliffe off the mic, which, okay, guess what? I never, ever, ever, not once in my entire life, ever thought anything would make me wish it was just Pat McAfee. Ever. But Tony Hinchcliffe being on commentary made me wish it was just Pat McAfee annoying Michael Cole. And so when it went back to it, I was kind of thankful. So, despite being a right-wing fucking douchebag, thank you, Pat McAfee, for like being the balance in that nonsense, I guess. Because the parts I didn't see of it, apparently all Tony Hinchcliffe did was rip on Michael Cole for being old. And Pat McAfee was like, you need to give this man his respect and shut the fuck up. So, you know, I mean, I guess broken clock is right twice a day. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, then after, so we had the next thing after we got Tony Hinchcliffe off the mic and stuff, we had Penta versus Dominic Mysterio, which I've kind of been looking forward to since last week when they said it was going to happen. To be honest, I was like, oh my god, okay, I like Penta, of course. Dominic Mysterio slowly becoming one of my favorite in-ring performers because he plays his body type really well. He knows that he's not like the most athletic luchador, and he knows he's not the biggest, strongest, toughest guy, and he plays that niche area that he resides in the wrestling world pretty well. And he has entertaining matches. He's a good chicken shit heel. He's not a classic chicken shit heel. He will wrestle you. You know, he's not going to spend 10 minutes, you know, ducking between the ropes and fixing his hair and walking around on the outside to 9 and then rolling back in and rolling back out. And I mean, we've all seen the heel. We all know the one that exists. We've all seen one.
It's several incarnations.
Yeah, he doesn't do all that, but he does chicken shit it up a little bit. Anyway, I thought this was going to be a schmoz because Penta starts getting the upper hand. He's kicking Dominic's ass. And then Carlito comes to, well, Carlito and Finn show up to kind of distract Penta, I guess. And Carlito, like, I don't really recall what happened too much with how they interfered with it at the beginning, just that at some point, Carlito was up on the apron and he jumped down off the apron and he looked like he was backing up down the aisle, and here came Braun Breaker. Like a fucking human freight train.
Yeah.
And he hit Carlito with this.
As one does.
He leaped off his feet. He was perpendicular to the ground at least. What is Carlito, like 6'2"? So I would say he was at least 5.
About 6'6" with his hair.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I would say this guy was at least 5'7" to 5'11" in the air, perpendicular to the ground, when he hit Carlito with a spear at easily top speed. It was ridiculous looking. Carlito sold it like a fucking $1 million too. And then Braun chased off Finn for a second, and Penta was able to pick up the win over Dom. Then everybody's kind of beating each other up after the fact, and then after that, I mean, nobody's really looking much stronger than they're kind of positioning Finn to look a little stronger, but I think it might be a red herring. I think they're both gonna. I think Dom or Finn is going to cost the other one the match at WrestleMania, and it's gonna
Yeah, it sounds about
it's gonna
right.
break up the current incarnation of the Judgment Day, or split Finn from it. Basically, is the goal, I believe. But uh, right after this, they put up a graphic. So we've got Penta, Braun Breaker, Dom Mysterio, and Finn Balor in a four-way for the Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania.
I mean, they're going with the big push on Penta. Like, I don't see him winning that match for the belt, but it's telling that he's been here for 3 months. That he's already in an IC title match at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
You know, like they're they're doing what they should do. What's smart to do with these big former AEW signees is give them the assurance that they're going to be utilized, because that's what the sticking point for most of these guys coming over is how they were being used. Oh, they never put me on TV. Oh, I didn't like creative. Tony didn't have anything for me. Blah blah blah.
yeah,
Well, you go to WWE. I mean, Cody was the blueprint, right? Vince, for all his faults, and he has many, was smart by not burying Cody as soon as he came in through the door.
yeah,
He pushed him straight out the gate, and then they got lucky because I hate to say this because the injury was horrific, but Cody had that injury, which garnered him even more sympathy after he chose to wrestle that Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins to the point where he was undeniable, as he likes to say, from undesirable to undeniable.
yeah,
He went out there and he put himself through physical agony. He gained the ultimate respect and uh, admiration of the fan base to the point where they're not leaving his side anytime soon.
yeah,
That's the blueprint. You do the Cody with the bigger, at least the bigger stars that come over.
yeah,
Like, I don't see them doing this with Rusev or Aleister Black because they've already been there. They've already been in WWE. They kind of know what to expect. You know, I see more upside for Aleister, but um, they probably don't even have to spend too much time pushing him as long as he's on the same show as his wife. He'll probably be happy,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
So,
Put him on the same show as his wife. Let him compete. Probably
yeah,
good there.
probably just put him against Andrade
Yeah,
for 6 straight months.
they have
And
good
it'll be
matches,
fine.
so yeah. I mean,
They have good matches. They're all good friends.
yeah,
Like, honestly, honestly, why don't they just pair up Andrade with Zelina again? She was the best thing about them before he left for AEW.
yeah,
And I would argue that in her absence, he has suffered.
yeah. At least a little bit.
Even on AEW. When she got initially released from WWE over her side hustle stuff, um, because they wanted to control all of their other avenues of payment. And even though they're independent contractors and they make a big deal of it, they want, well, we made your name here, we made your brand here, so we want to control everything about it. You wouldn't have all those followers on. It wasn't. I think it was OnlyFans, but it wasn't like. I think it was mostly cosplay stuff.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have that starting base if it wasn't for the name recognition you got in WWE. Blah blah blah. And there's a logic to that, but it's like it's still them in. They're not acting out. They're using the name, but they're not acting out the part of Zelina Vega.
yeah,
She's just her doing cosplay shit.
yeah,
Like they're going to see her. So like when she left, I was like, good for you. She was talking about unionization and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe she'll go to AEW and be with Andrade again because she's the missing piece.
mm-hmm.
She's the one. She's really the linchpin to that act. She's the one who made it work. And that didn't happen. And then I was really disappointed when she went back to WWE because it's like, you know what they're gonna do, like. But she went back there probably for the paycheck, which is fine.
Yeah,
But like, And I'm not going to begrudge any married couple in this industry that wants to be together.
Yeah.
So, put them on the same brand. Please. Don't do this thing where you separate. Like, when you separate them on brands, you get shit like at what happened with Edge and Lita. Don't do this to people.
Yeah.
Put them on the same brand if they want to be there. Save yourself headaches in the end.
Yeah. So after this, so basically that Penta versus Dom was our main event. But WWE lately likes to do a promo after the main event. So we then had Paul Heyman show up, and he was going to talk about the favor, and then which was revealed to us last week on SmackDown. Basically, Paul Heyman has to be in CM Punk's corner for this WrestleMania main event instead of being the wise man. So, kind of called that, I think. But
honestly, as far as favors go, that's kind of tame.
Yeah, it is. It is. I figured it would be like some path to a title or something, like something that got him a title. But anyway, Heyman is interrupted then by Seth Rollins, who is really threatening to Paul Heyman the entire time. And then when he goes to attack Paul Heyman, he's interrupted by CM Punk. It gets physical, but Rollins gets the upper hand. He stomps Punk. He goes to stomp Heyman and stomps the mat next to him instead and says, "Now you owe me a favor." And that's how Raw ends.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool.
Oh, I didn't use my finish on you. Now you owe me one.
Yeah.
What?
Wait, no, you didn't. Here. You weren't violent towards me, so now I got to do something. No, that's not how this works.
Like, I could see if it was like, okay, he was going to use a cinder block and stomp him on, on the bottom of his boot as he stomped him onto the steel steps. If it was like going to be implied to be career ending or fatal, I could see that. But just a regular finishing move, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Weak sauce.
Yeah, it's kind of weak. But other than that, Raw was pretty good this week. I didn't really like that part. And I really F Tony Hinchcliffe. That's all I can say. I just didn't like those two parts. But other than that, show was really good. I really hope that when the War Raiders and New Day run it back, they don't have any special guest commentators. I can just see a War Raiders and New Day match and not have to watch them.
Heard that, I heard that he made some kind of comment.
He made a comment about Big E's
regarding
neck.
Big E's neck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
he did.
It's like, okay.
Piece of shit, basically. I fucking hate him.
Yeah. My question is, if you're trying to endear yourself to an audience so that the people in attendance for WrestleMania in Las Vegas want to come see your roast and attend it during their stay there, why are you acting as a heel?
Yeah, don't pick on the guy everybody loves who's injured. That's not a way to get us to buy a ticket.
I don't understand the reasoning behind that at all.
It was stupid.
That's just dumb.
It was very stupid. I didn't like it at all.
He's just one of these guys that, it's more important to be edgy. Like,
basically.
It's like, dude, you are our age. You are middle-aged.
Probably older.
Please act like it. Please act like it. Like, leave the edgelord crap for high school.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that crap, Raw was all right. The wrestling was good, as usual. I mean, the wrestling's been pretty good, man. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later on, but I feel like WWE is making a play to make their in-ring competition better. And that may be one of the reasons why they are signing people that go hard in the AEW style, like Penta and Rey Fenix. And we will talk about that more on SmackDown when Rey Fenix, his match comes up.
I think it's like the one thing that AEW really, really hangs its hat on and leans into more heavily than WWE does is the quality of the actual in-ring action.
Mm-hmm.
WWE is all about moments, and that's great, but to this day, people bemoan the kind of sameness of the WWE style.
Yeah.
Even this far into Triple H's tenure as head creative.
Yeah.
So I think that they've got most of the other boxes ticked when it comes to beating AEW in certain metrics.
Yeah.
But in ring action, I don't think they hold a candle, and I think that they know that.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
obvious they have to.
I think you're right that they're trying to. I mean, they tried to pull a couple weeks ago. Tried to pull the same. They tried to one up the cage match with their own cage match, and by most accounts, kind of failed miserably in response because Fletcher and Osprey are Fletcher and Osprey, and they put on like a 40-minute cage match classic.
Yeah.
Where all the things happens, like everything that you could think of that could happen in a cage seemed to happen, and then Punk and Rollins go out there, have a couple of high spots, but mostly play it safe, and there's no blood.
Yeah, and they do that that was maybe 20 minutes, and
that's what you're gonna hang your hat
they
on.
weren't gonna go all
why
out.
Would you cross? Why would you cross program a cage match against that cage match? Presumably see the first one, and then not do anything to try to one up it.
Yeah, see,
like,
but see, here's the thing though. I don't think anybody in this business, and I think CM Punk and Seth Rollins might would probably back me up when I say this. You can't expect anybody to do the kind of ridiculous shit. And I don't mean ridiculous in a bad way, okay? I don't. I'm not. That is not me saying it in a bad way. That is me saying some of the things they did were literally outright ridiculous. You can't expect anybody to do that on free television. That's not going to happen, especially not in WWE. It's just not going to happen on free TV.
That prompts the question, though. Why did
they not book something else? Or
why did they not book something else? Why did they insist on doing a cage match after that cage match, knowing the penchant that Ospreay specifically and anybody who works with him seems to come up with whenever they do something like this? They had to know ahead of time, that knowing especially that this was the blow off for a feud, that they were going to go hard.
I would like to know who made that decision, because I would bet that it was not the wrestlers involved who made the decision to keep this as a cage match or to make a cage match after the fact.
No, probably not.
I don't.
I mean, you can't blame Road Dogg. He's on SmackDown. Much as I would like to blame Road Dogg.
As much as I would like to
blame. I like to blame lots of things on Road Dogg. He's still, to this day, I can't understand how he thought that he was making Charlotte a babyface against Becky, when that was not the story that they were telling.
Makes me wonder if he's right in this current Charlotte
story. He didn't even understand the story that he was telling.
No.
That's how much of a dumbass he is.
No, he didn't.
I don't know. How is he the most successful Armstrong when Brad existed?
Yeah, I don't know.
Jeez Louise.
Good question. But yeah, I think that was it for Raw. So we're gonna head on over to the Shine.
All right, Shine time, baby. All right, here at the Shine, we're featuring AEW Dynamite from April 9th, 2025. Starts off with John Moxley. He's in the back with Death Riders, and he's all like, yeah, the Bucks showing up wasn't in the cards, so they should choose what they do and say very, very carefully before they make any moves. And then music hits, and we're on, and that goes right into John Moxley versus Katsuyori Shibata. I didn't think they'd open with this, and it was shorter than I wanted it to be. I really wanted it to be longer because I liked what I saw. Uh, it was very very New Japan. Um, and at every once in a while, especially with the New Japan alumni that you have, you can afford to get away with those style matches. It's something different for the buffet.
Yeah.
As far as summing it up is concerned, I'm going to read to you a couple of texts that my dad sent me while he was watching it. Said, wow, AEW let Shibata no sell a lot of Moxley's offense. Watching this match reminded me a little of Regal the wrestler stretching a pretty green Goldberg. And kudos to Moxley who sold. That pretty much wraps it up. Like,
Yeah.
Shibata looked like an actual threat to Moxley.
Yeah.
Which is weird because like you saw his lower third graphic as he came to the ring. It's like I didn't realize he lost so much. Like he was only like 24 and 19 or something like that. The gap between his he was had a winning percentage, but it wasn't by a lot. I was like, they really like. I mean, I kind of get that that's their role. It's like they're kind of older statesmen with names and reputations from New Japan,
Yeah.
putting over the new kids in AEW, and I kind of get that, but I feel like Shibata still has something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Not that
Yeah.
the other guys don't, because they do, but like for example, I love it anytime they bring Big Tom in. I love Tomohiro Ishii. Love that guy. For a guy who's 5'7", he wrestles so much bigger than that,
Yeah.
and he is so believable in his toughness that like he loses all the time. He loses all the time, and it never hurts him.
Yeah.
Never ever hurts him.
No.
Like at all. I don't think. And the same thing goes with oh gosh, Murder Grandpa. Same thing goes with him.
Yeah.
Like he
Minoru.
loses all the time. Minoru Suzuki loses all the time.
Yeah.
Never hurts him because
Nope.
of who he is and because of his aura and because of his history and because he's a legit badass.
Yeah.
Who's taking out Gracie's right and left. Like a true pioneer in this sport and in MMA. Like he's a living legend, and I feel like a whole generation of his fans know him only. And to be fair, I was one of those fans. I had to do the research after I became a fan of his to realize exactly how important he is to wrestling history. So all my cards on the table. I'm not chiding anybody because I had to do my research too. I was a Johnny Come Lately fan of his, but like Suzuki, like I feel like to a whole generation of fans, he's like, oh, he's Murder Grandpa. Like he does a whole bunch of awesome no selling and hits you really hard, and then he takes the pin.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like that's his whole thing. Like he's so much more than that, and everything that he was before that informs why he's so over now.
Yeah.
I don't think Shibata has that same kind of aura. He hasn't been around as long. He was, on the shelf for so long with that brain tumor or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So he missed a few years of building up a reputation. Not that he didn't have one when he got sick, but it's not to the level of a Shibata or a Suzuki or an Ishii.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he can absorb the losses for too much longer, like Tom and Minoru can.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's like I know he's not winning, but at least he looked good in defeat. Like Moxley at times, and this was absolutely on purpose. This was absolutely the plan of the match. At times, he looked flummoxed. He didn't know what to do against Shibata. He finally caught him in a rear naked choke and trapped the arm so that he couldn't escape for the win. And that was, it looked like that was more out of desperation than skill, really. Like, it absolutely told the story that it needed to. Um, if you're gonna have this match, that's probably the story it should have at this point where they are in the story. But I would rather have not had the match and had Shibata beat up Yuta instead
Yeah.
and win. That's what I would have rather, or at least have Yuta cheat to win.
Yeah, that would have been fair.
But like, I don't. Moxley doesn't really get anything by being Shibata, and Shibata certainly doesn't get anything by losing to Moxley.
Right.
So like, I don't know. The match itself, I mean, well executed. I enjoyed it for what it was. Wish if it were gonna do it, I wish it would have been longer. But we got what we got, and I generally enjoyed what we got. I enjoy seeing Shibata work, so that's fine. And then like this started this whole ball rolling where like the first quarter of the show, one segment ran into another, ran into the next, ran into the next.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that roller coaster ride. I kind of dig it, actually. Not, I don't necessarily want that all the time. The separations are valuable, but every once in a while, I think it's cool to do it like they did here. Young Bucks came in. First time we've heard their music in a long, long time. Say what you want about the Young Bucks, their music is cool. I like their music.
Fair.
They came out and they basically, as the Death Riders were walking away, Moxley had bailed Marina before they even could make it to the ring, really, for the most part. Nick is first, and he's like, we did it for Hangman. We saw that you were a man of your word, and we take care of our friends. We made the decision so you didn't have to. So you're welcome, buddy. I don't think Hanger's going to take that.
No.
Really?
No.
I think he's well past the point of being welcomed back with open arms into the Bucks orbit. I think we're well and truly done with that for a long, 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 long time.
Yeah, probably.
Matt gets on the mic and he admits to being jealous of Moxley and the Death Riders because the Elite had a plan to reshape AEW and bring back the feeling in their own way, but they couldn't do it, and the Death Riders did. So they have common cause now, and saving Mox was their way of providing an olive branch. They proposed the Death Riders and the Elite working together as one big group, and that's when Kenny Omega's music hits. And he's like, yeah, you mentioned a lot of people just now, and I noticed I wasn't one of them. And the last time I saw you pushed me off a stretcher while I was being taken to the hospital in the worst part of my diverticulitis. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this for my legacy, and for this company. Pardon me. And he compared them to a couple of little yappy dogs that keep pooping on the carpet. It wasn't his best work, but it was memorable, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's just like, you know what? I want to fight you, so let's fight. So he looks like he's gonna fight, and the Bucks kind of look nervous about it. But that's when Okada's music hits and the Rainmaker's here. And it looks like it's gonna be 3-on-1, and then Swerve shows up, and he comes from out of the audience and grabs a steel chair and hits the ring, and he's like, oh, yeah. So they have a really cool moment where the Elite have hightailed it, and Omega's in there with Swerve, and there was a moment there. I'm like, ooh, down the line. It's probably not going to be anytime soon, but down the line, this is what I want to see. I think eventually that will have to happen. They have to cross paths at some point. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon. And in any case, that's when Swerve picks up the mic. He says it's buck hunting season. He's got a shotgun. You don't generally hunt, you know, you don't generally hunt deer with anything but a rifle or maybe a bow and arrow. But, like, you know, shotgun is a little overkill. You don't want to ruin the meat. But I don't think he cares about ruining the meat.
No, I don't think so either.
He just couldn't leave well enough alone. And then Pac comes behind him and blasts him. The last, you know, Death Rider that hadn't made his way out, blasts him from behind. And this match was really, really disappointing, but not because of anything that Pac and Swerve had planned, but because Pac got injured really early in the match.
Yeah.
His foot or ankle or something. I still haven't gotten an update about what the actual nature of the injury is, but it was bad. He couldn't put any weight on it, so they rushed to finish and got out of there. Like, I wouldn't even give this match a rating because it was clearly rushed to compensate for an injury that was not planned, that was not a work.
Yeah,
that was absolutely a shoot. It sucked. And you know, not for any planned reason. It just, it always sucks when anybody gets injured and you can see it happening before your eyes. You know, it just sucked.
Yeah.
So, you know what didn't suck though? You know what didn't suck though?
What?
Hangman Page confronting Nana in the back. That didn't suck. That was awesome. He barges into Swerve Strickland's locker room looking for him, and of course, for the second time he does this, he's not there. But Nana this time is. So he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be there in Boston for my own heart match, and you better not be there." Wink, wink, nudge. No, you better not be there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, dude, just kiss and get over it, buddy.
Right.
Better not be there. But he's like, yeah, I want him nowhere near this. I will run you up a rail if you interfere in my match. And so he tells Nana to convey that message to Swerve, and Nana, pulling at the heartstrings, says, you know, I'm glad I have you. You know, while you're here, I'm glad I have you alone because it's been eating away at me for over a year now. You know, and he says, he gets out the word regret. He says, I really regret, and then he's cut off by Hangman. He's like, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And he just storms off. But it wasn't like a don't want to hear it like, well, he said he doesn't want to hear it. What he meant is he's not ready to hear it.
Yeah.
That's the subtext. Like, as someone who has absolutely been there, absolutely 100% been there in that exact same kind of moment in my personal life, that's what he meant, is that he wasn't ready to hear the apology yet.
Yeah.
But we know what was coming. Mm-hmm. We know the rest of that sentence. And it's good to know that Nana has remorse for his part in the home invasion. Like, It's good. It's essential to know that. Because if we're going to buy him as this balancing force for Swerve, we have to know that his intentions are pure. Yeah. So that was one of my moments of the night. Like the wrestling was great, but it's like this was a week in AEW where, as good as the wrestling was, probably the best moments were these these storyline beats that happened outside the ring. Yeah. I'll get to that in Collision in a little bit too. I'll tell you that one. But next up is they build it as an 8-man explosive tag team match. Do you know what an explosive tag team match is? Is that a gimmick? What is that? Why did they put that tag? No idea. I don't understand. No idea. But apparently the winning team got $400,000 for, I don't know, Tony Khan was feeling generous for some reason.
I guess so.
I don't know. Like, I mean, at least they had something to fight over, but like, it was announced like the day before, and no reason was given why this money was up for grabs in the first place. Like, what made Tony Khan make that decision? Yeah. With these guys. It's like, man, I really like Ricochet, the Beast Mortos, Action Andretti. Leo Rush, Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight, Speedball, Mike Bailey, and Mark Briscoe. But I only want to give some of them a big bonus. How do I do this? Like, I don't really understand the logic behind it, but
Yeah, I don't
whatever.
either.
It doesn't matter. It was crazy, fast, incredible action. There's the one spot that's gone viral, and for good reason. Of the babyface team is they're all on the outside of the ring after dispatching most of the heel team, and then Ricochet is on the inside of the ring. He bounces off the far ropes, and then he flips over the near ropes, but all of the baby faces move out of the way just in time. So Ricochet gets to do the superhero landing on his feet, but there's nobody there. He does the big wide-eyed mouth agape look. He's like, "Oh crap, they're all right behind me." And they all lick their hands and slap him on his bald head. I saw somebody on my skyline get retweeted, or no, I saw somebody post that, and one of the comments was from somebody who doesn't understand pro wrestling and clearly had some kind of bias against it. Why do people like this? And I'm like, why don't people like
Yeah,
this?
like who's hating?
Who's hating on this? This is funny. I mean, it's funnier with context, sure.
Yeah.
I'll grant you that. But like, this is funny. It's entertaining as all hell. Like, and she kept going back and forth. Oh, I'm like, ugh. Let people like what they like. I like this. I'm sure she likes. Everybody has their trash. Okay, every single person has their flavor of trash. If you want to call wrestling trash, I don't agree with you. But if you want to call that my trash, fine. That's fine. You have your own trash. Whether it's cop procedurals, whether it's dance moms, whether it's whatever it is, Jersey Shore, whatever. Everybody has their show that's crap.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of other people's crap.
Right.
Otherwise,
let people enjoy
your crap
things.
is on the chopping block too. Like,
right.
That's just how it is. You know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
Amen.
So anyway, yeah, the baby faces win. Hidden Blade takes out Mortos. Unfortunately, my boy Mortos is taking the pin. As soon as I saw that he was in this match, I'm like, yeah.
It sucks
yeah,
that he's being a pin
happen.
taker right now.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I mean, like, he looked good. He looked big and strong and you know, threw people around and stuff. But ultimately, that doesn't matter when you're the only one on your team that takes a pin ever.
Yeah.
So, I'm really hoping that eventually, like, they can get this, this storyline where whatever they want to do with La Facción Ingobernable, like, whatever they want to do with them, I hope they do it. I hope they figure out Rush's weird. I don't know. I don't know if it's travel issues. I don't know if ice got him. I don't know. But like I hope they figure it out soon so that they can get through that storyline, turn Beast Mortos babyface, and have him go on a winning streak and actually beat people. Because I love that dude, and I want better for him to just be looking at the lights all the time.
Yeah.
He's too good to be looking at the lights.
That's
every single week. But I mean, I love watching him go. Like, I love him throwing around dudes and just like doing insane things for a guy his size. Like, it's always a treat to watch him. I just wish that he would win more often.
Yeah.
So they have a video package of FTR turning on Adam Copeland, which leads into Excalibur telling us that Cope is out indefinitely, which leads to Tony Schiavone basically cutting a promo running down FTR. And as soon as I heard him say, you know, I bet your daughter was ashamed of you, I'm like, oh.
Oh, no.
If there's anything that you should know about Dax Harwood, it's that he doesn't suffer fools talking about his daughter.
Not at all.
As soon as she was brought up, I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna kick. They're gonna destroy that man. He is going to eat. And honestly, I didn't even blame. Even in this moment, I didn't even blame him because Tony should have known better.
Yeah.
Like, Tony's not wrong. What they did is reprehensible. You know, they're heels now. Blah blah blah. But like, you can do all that without mentioning his daughter.
Yep.
And
exactly.
Like, if they hadn't mentioned his daughter, he probably wouldn't have been put in the position that he was put in on Collision. But we'll get to that later.
Yep.
Um. Yeah. Next was Hurt Syndicate, and yeah, they're out here. They're out here to celebrate another title defense. They've got bottles everywhere. And then MJF's music hits, and he just kind of like slides in with it. He's like a nerd trying to get his way in with the cool kids. It's like he's standing there, all like in their pose. You know, they're just looking, and they're all well, Benjamin and Lashley anyway are looking at him side eye like, "What are you doing here?" And MVP is just being like, "Okay, well, we're gonna read this situation before I react." But you know, MJF is mugging for the camera. He's starting to get over again as a babyface. I'm like, guys, do not chant for him, please. This is not the point of this. This is not the point of this. The point of this isn't to facilitate a babyface turn for MJF. Okay? Also, he's our scumbag. I really hate that chant. Why do you like a scumbag? Any scumbag. They're scumbags. You shouldn't like them. Specifically, I mean, if you like a scumbag, okay, fine. But don't take pride in the fact that he is a scumbag. Like him for some other reason. Like, I know I keep going back to this well, but like this is a character who has no remorse for anything that he's ever done. Ever. This is a guy who who blamed his prom date for drunken driving into a telephone pole when he was the one driving and she was the one well, I mean, what else are we gonna say? She was the one pleasuring him at the time. So like, and he's still, you know, he went on TV. He went on TV and bragged about how he framed her for the crash. Like,
yes, he did.
This is your scumbag. Why are you cheering this man? He bragged about this. Like, am I the only one who remembers this?
I guess so.
Like, why am I the only one who remembers this? This is heinous. Like, this is why I thought that as bad as the Devil storyline turned out, that Adam Cole was right. Adam Cole was right. I don't understand people sometimes.
But he's our scumbag, Adam.
He's not my scumbag. I don't have scumbags. Anyway. MJF is like, oh yeah, well, we hurt people, guys, blah blah blah. Work smarter, not harder, and now that I've scratched your back, maybe you can scratch mine, and I can cut the line in this Owen Hart. I did love the thing where he says like, you know, Tony Khan approached me to be in the Owen Hart tournament, but I don't want to get all sweaty and wrestle every week. What are you nuts? I don't want to do that every week. I mean, it's, you know, it's very on brand for him.
Yeah.
Also, it's very smart. Like, whatever kind of, you know, wizardry he talked into TK's ear to have him, you know, to convince him that, yeah, I shouldn't have to wrestle every week. And here's why: because my character wouldn't want to. Like, the way, whatever way he spun it so that he doesn't have to work nearly as hard as the rest of the roster on any given week, kudos. That is working smarter and not harder. And that's definitely going to pay off for him in the long run. He will be healthy for a lot longer than many of his compatriots.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's part of the gimmick that he, you know, he's lazy until he has to be. So, yeah, they take a vote, and MVP says it has to be unanimous, and you know, MVP gives his thumb up, Lashley gives his thumb down, Shelton Benjamin teases it could have gone either way, but ultimately gives thumbs down. And so MJF is fuming in the ring as they leave him to do that. Renee is backstage with Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne. They say that they're not done with Storm. Tony Storm barely survived. We're going to be in action. We're going to have an open challenge on Collision. Whoever steps up can get it. Blah blah blah. That leads into the Owen Hart tournament for the women's side. The match, opening match, Chris Statlander versus Thunder Rosa. Now this one I really thought could have gone either way going into it. I'm like, okay, well, like they've been pushing Chris pretty steadily for about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
But having Thunder Rosa make it to face Tony Storm, both for storyline reasons and for local reasons, as she is a Texas resident, and there's obviously a huge Mexican contingent that would be coming to see All In Houston. I mean, there's a reason to argue that Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm would be a big match at that show. But only one of them can move on. And as much as I love them both, I really wanted Thunder Rosa to win here because she really could have used it more than Stat. Like, I feel like this should have been the semifinals and not the opener. Because it being the opener and Stat going over just kind of made me a little sad. Instead of like, well, at least you got a win. At least you made it to the semis. But no, Thunder Rosa gets knocked out in the beginning. A good match, though. I mean, Chris Statlander seems to be one of those wrestlers who can have chemistry with a paper bag. So, like, I mean, stuff was great. And actually, Thunder Rosa did probably, it wasn't overwhelming, but she probably dominated most of the offense in this match. What was the finish? Finish was a lariat and a Saturday Night Fever after a couple of running knees, and preceded by a Canadian Destroyer from Thunder Rosa, who looked very concerned that didn't put her away. She was really, really selling how difficult it was to beat Chris. And then she couldn't beat Chris, so that made all the sense in the world. I just hope that they find something for Rosa soon, because I feel like she's not. I know that this is a stacked division, but I really hope that they can find something for her other than just being the gatekeeper. Like, she never really got to live up to the potential of her run as women's champion because she got injured and had to be out for a year. So I'm hoping they can, maybe not even with the belt, but like at least give her something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than just putting over whoever's new and hot at the moment.
Yeah.
Don Callis has an interesting announcement. What's his face? Brian Cage and Mark Davis are both injured, so he's taking resumes, pictures, and bank account numbers to for potential new members for the Don Callis family. And I honestly am kind of intrigued as to who they could get. If I had to guess, I would say, off the top of my head, Blake Christian comes to mind, because he's been on TV and he's been in featured spots for like 2 or 3 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
He's looked good, even though he's not won any of his matches. Spoiler alert. But I feel like he's the type of guy. Like, I mean, Takeshita wasn't winning any of his matches before he got into in Don Callis' grip, right? Kyle Fletcher was barely a singles wrestler. Like, Callis has a proven track record. That when you're in that orbit, people get better, and they're in featured spots on TV in order to get better. So, I think that Blake Christian would be a great fit. We'll see who they have in mind. Undisputed Kingdom are there, and they're not the Undisputed Kingdom anymore. They're the Paragon, which is fine, because honestly, the part that made them the Kingdom apparently doesn't work for AEW anymore anyway.
I guess.
So,
yeah.
I guess. So, like, why continue with that? I mean, they own the name, because they own ROH, but like it's different. And honestly, I'm glad that they're getting away from the undisputed part, because even though that it's it's going to be their part of their catchphrase forever, but like the undisputed part comes from their history in NXT. Let's move forward. You're in AEW now. You are for the foreseeable future. You want to carve out something that's, not connected to the past. That's why you got rid of the Kingdom part. You might as well get rid of the Undisputed part too. You're the Paragon now. Great. Fine. Works for me.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho is here. And he brings out, he has a dais, and he's bringing out the learning tree, as opposed to just coming to the ring with them already. And Big Bill gets on the mic before Chris Jericho can say anything, and he's all like, look, I put up with a lot because I genuinely believe that it's worth sitting under your learning tree. But if you came out here, brought us out here just to berate us, I'm done with that. Like, if you have something to teach me, that's fantastic, and I'll stay here and listen. But if you're out here to run us down because we couldn't get it done, even though it clearly wasn't our fault that we couldn't get it done at Dynasty and win the tag belts, then I'm out of here. Just tell me so I can leave, because I don't want to deal with that. And I know that Keith feels the same way. And they put a camera on Brian Keith, and he's like, yeah, I feel the same way. Very nervous. It was kind of funny. But Jericho says, he's not why I brought you out. So it may be, that Bill lost his match, but, some people might say that it's Bill's fault, but Jericho's not saying that. Jericho's not angry, he's just disappointed. And you hear the crowd is audible, ooh, because everybody has had their parents say they're not mad, they're just disappointed, and that's what hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're mad at you, then you can be mad right back in justified, righteous anger. But if they're disappointed in you, there's nothing you can do but sulk.
Right.
That's what hurts. Although it's very clear that disappointed is just dad for upset and angry, because he takes Floyd and he destroys the entire set. He beats. I'm just disappointed. Crack against the TV. I'm just disappointed. Crack against the TV. I'm just disappointed. Crack against the TV. Crack against the chair. Crack against the pot of plant. The ropes. Everything. I'm just disappointed. He storms off.
Yeah, tantrum.
He says, he had a freaking almost 2002 level Christian tantrum. He did everything but, fall flat on his back and and scream like a toddler. He said he's going to go away for a while until he's no longer disappointed. So he's going to go tour with Fozzy. This is what's facilitating that. Yeah. And Big Bill and Brian Keith are just kind of stunned in the ring. Video package for Anthony Bowens. Returning on Collision. They say that after he beat Max Caster, he's going to be on Collision facing Blake Christian, who I was mentioned earlier. And I will obviously mention it again, as it is on Collision. But we're not there yet. We're at the Hurt Syndicate being, again, featured. This time backstage with Alyssa, too. And what's really funny about this is that MJF comes and he crashes the party again, but he sexually harasses Alicia too. But that's funny because they're a real life couple. So it's like, oh, I guess it's okay that he's kind of berating her and slapping her butt on the way out, because okay, they're a couple. They agreed to this beforehand. This is fine. He talks with MVP and he's like, "Oh, what's the deal, man? I thought it was an in, especially after what happened at Dynasty." He's like, "Look, I'm a businessman, and if there's one thing I've learned about business is that you have to go to your customer, find out what they want, and deliver it to them. So that's what you need to do. So it gave MJF something to think about. Uh, Main event of the show, though, was Samoa Joe and Hook versus Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli. This was fun, back and forth. After a while, uh, Hook was the babyface in peril. He got thrown around a bit. Did get off a couple of cool suplexes, but for the most part was just the whipping boy of the match. He was the Morton, and eventually he gets Joe in. Huge pop with Joe. There was some back and forth. Claudio rolls up to the outside and charges Joe, but Joe hits the sit down. Sit down! that Uranagi that he usually does it in the corner, but this was against the barricade on the outside. Moxley, though, he's up on the apron. He provides a distraction. Gouges out Hook's eyes. But at this point, Shibata runs out, and he gets a rear naked choke on Moxley from behind, as Joe has got Joe's got Claudio, and Yuta has the red rum, and so they're all in chokes at the same time. They're all going out at the same time. I believe Yuta actually does tap out. I don't think he passed out. I think he taps out.
Wow.
But it was cool. It was really nice. Everybody's choking everybody. It's so cool, which is a thing you can only say in wrestling. And have it be good. Otherwise, it's just a horrific sentence. But after the match, the Ops are celebrating. Marina Shafir is here. She has a chair and she takes out Joe's knee. Death Riders jump the ring. Claudio, he turns a chair upside down and then hits a neutralizer to Hook on top of the upside down turned chair.
Ugh.
Which actually probably doesn't hurt as much as it looked like it did, but it looked like it hurt a lot.
Yeah, it looked
and
like it
Hook
hurt
was
bad.
doing a real good job of selling it too.
Yeah.
They then powder into the crowd. Joe is heated. He gets on the mic, calls them a bunch of dick riders, says Death Riders, and he
Favorite
makes
part of
the
the
official.
night.
Yeah, and he officially challenges for the trios belts. I thought the show was pretty good, honestly. Like it was definitely kind of like it was one of those rebound shows,
Yeah.
like things are kind of resetting a little bit after the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the best episode of Dynamite, but it was still really enjoyable. Like honestly, though Collision was a much tighter show, and we'll get to that. But I think once again this is a moment of Dynamite being the storyline progression show and Collision being the wrestling show.
Yeah.
So, and both, for the record, both of those are valid. Absolutely, both of those are valid. And I like that they have two brands that feel actually different, even though there's not like a brand split
Yeah.
in place. It's just a different feel, and I enjoy that. It's not more of the same, from show to show.
Right.
So.
I enjoy that too. I like that there's like a distinct difference because like I watch Dynamite to see mostly for the stories that are happening, and Collision. Yeah, it's a lot of good wrestling. There's a lot of lucha on Collision and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's it's kind of the dichotomy between the two, and I enjoy it. I watch them both for those reasons. I mean,
Yeah, they're trying to deliver to every bit of their audience. I can't hate on that. That's what you're supposed to do, right?
right? As far as I know, yeah. You found that, as Bobby or as MVP would say, you find a product, you find what they want, and you give it to them.
Yep.
So
Give the people
yeah.
what they
Give
give
them
the people what they want. All right, but that's all I got. So I think now it's time to head into the Hook. I mean, Morton.
To the Morton. All right, so it's time for our Morton spot. That's going to be SmackDown this week. Plenty of stuff happened, but not a lot to SmackDown this week. Um, so we started with Nick Aldis and Randy Orton. Um, you know, I guess last week Randy Orton assaulted Nick Aldis, and Orton is basically like letting him know, like, hey, I still need my WrestleMania match despite Kevin Owens being hurt and having to have neck surgery. So, that also happened last week. In the interim, Kevin Owens has got an injured neck and he has to have surgery, and he won't be back for like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
So he won't be in WrestleMania. But Randy Orton still wants a match.
Get better soon, Kevin. Love you
Yeah,
on this show.
definitely get better soon. Um, Randy Orton still wants a match, and it looks like we might get like Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis, but they're interrupted by Orton first of all tells Nick Aldis, I paid double the fine so that I got one in the bank, and then tells him
well,
I
that's
will.
not ominous at all.
Yeah, and then he said, I will apologize personally to Mickey James if I have to rough you the fuck up. Like, so, he
Getting
talks a lot of
real
trash,
here.
but then Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga interrupt them, and they go to try to attack Orton, and then LA Knight shows up, and him and Orton kind of beat down Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa, but then Orton kind of challenges Solo to a WrestleMania match. So it's a very flimsy pretext, but here's where we're at. So we might be getting Solo versus Orton. I'm not as excited for that as I would be for Orton versus Kevin, of course, because of course I'm not. I mean, come on.
But at least Kevin Owens doesn't have to lose again.
That is also true.
I mean, can you? They always do this with newly turned main event heels. Is they turn them, and if they don't win the belt, then they go on losing streaks, and it's like, well, what did you turn them for?
Right.
You're not going to push them.
So then,
absolutely nonsensical.
Right. So then we had our previously mentioned women's tag team gauntlet to see who's going to face Liv and Raquel at WrestleMania. And it's Bayley and Lyra, Zoe and Shayna, Natalia and Maxine Dupree are a new tag team. I think they're called the Party Girls or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but that's what they're doing. We got Caden Carter and Katana Chance, B-Fab and Meechin, who have been kind of hanging out lately, so that kind of made sense. And then the Secret Hervis, Alba Fire and Piper Niven. Bayley and Valkyria won. So they, as a tag team, the Women's Intercontinental Champion, will not be defending her title at WrestleMania. She will be challenging for the Women's Tag Team titles.
Well, for a long time, there was a long and rich history of the Men's Intercontinental title not being defended at WrestleMania. I guess they just want to get a jump on it with the women's version.
I guess so. Then we had Damian Priest show up, and he got attacked from behind by Drew McIntyre. They're still running this. This is what's going to happen at WrestleMania. Now, I guess last week at the London show, when Damian Priest, he ran Drew McIntyre into a glass windshield. And so Drew kind of came out with an eye patch on. And he kind of beat up Damian for a little bit and kind of shit-canned him. And then Drew was cutting a promo, and Damian re-interrupted him and came because he had gotten taken to the back, and then he came back out. And he goes to fight Drew McIntyre, and Drew put him in that Future Shock DDT, but he did it on the bottom set of steps. He tore the top off and gave him the Future Shock on the steps and left Priest all messed up.
For the record, he does that move better than Moxley ever has.
True.
Ever. It looks so good when Drew does it.
The craziest part about this segment, though, is that McIntyre, after he had laid out Priest, took his necklace.
So we're in another jewelry-based feud.
I
then?
was just thinking that same thing. Like, wait a minute,
Drew, do you have a jewelry fetish?
is he a jewel thief?
What's going on, man? Like, is that what they do in Scotland? Is this a Scottish thing?
Drew,
Is it just,
yeah, I killed you, and I'm gonna take the thing
or
off your
maybe
wrist.
it's just because he has the eye patch. Is like, well, I already look like a pirate. I might as well steal something like a pirate.
Oh, by the time the DDT came around in the theft, that eye patch was long gone.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess that's not it.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on here. We'll see, I guess, as we go on what's going on with the necklace. We have like not even a week. It's this weekend. We will not we'll have Raw on Monday and SmackDown on Friday, and yeah, that's going to be a long build for this blood feud over a necklace, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really, when they did announce that this was the plan for WrestleMania and that Drew McIntyre was backstage like legit unhappy with it, I understood why he was unhappy with it, and I also am not real excited about this one.
I mean, it'll be two big meaty men slapping meat, if nothing else. But
Yeah.
I mean, now what do you want to bet within the next cycle before on one of the go home shows? They'll discover that, oh yeah, that necklace means so much to Damian Priest because it was engraved by Bad Bunny or something.
Yeah, who knows?
Like,
so
I hope. Oh, that reminds me. I wanted to talk to you about this real quick. Back. I know he sucks, but back on Tony Hinchcliffe. I hope that Bad Bunny is in Las Vegas, and I hope he goes to that show, and I hope he destroys Tony Hinchcliffe physically, not verbally, physically. I want him to just down dress him.
best outcome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
pretty
so.
much.
Sami Zayn's there. What I would really like, honestly, what I think has a higher chance of happening is Sami Zayn going off script and saying, "I didn't want to be here, but I couldn't take I couldn't miss the opportunity to look Tony Hinchcliffe in his face and tell him exactly what I think of him, because Sami Zayn does not want anything to do with this."
Yeah.
So the only reason that I can think of that he would volunteer for this show is if he could take shots at Tony Hinchcliffe in a very real manner.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be televised, but I bet if anything big like that happens, somebody will have their phone camera out.
Oh, it'll make the sheets.
Yeah, it'll make the show. Yeah, because I bet people like Sean Ross Sapp and people are going to be in the audience anyway. Reporters will be there to at least.
Yeah, media will be there.
Yeah.
Media will be there.
So we go to break after this segment. We come back, and we've got Rey Fenix versus Humberto Carrillo, I believe is his last name.
Mm-hmm. Love Humberto.
Yeah. Really great athletic match. Phoenix is using like this Mexican muscle buster, which is the muscle buster, but then it's almost like the muscle buster into a one-winged angel. Like it's that same pull down, but it's out of the muscle buster position instead of the one back leg and all that. But he's upside down in the muscle buster, so but he pulls him down in the same like landing place as like the one-winged angel would be. Really good move, but he also is now doing this kind of, I guess we can call it new school, where he's running across the top rope for a kick.
Oh, he's been doing that for a long time. That's one of my favorite moves of his. It's incredible. He looks incredible when he does it.
He does it fantastically in the 20-foot WWE ring. He's like he's really well acclimating to the larger space.
Yeah. Well, AEW has a 20 by 22 normally, from what I understand.
Oh, do they?
It was, but in Australia, it was smaller because they chose to rent a ring that was local as opposed to shipping their thing all across the largest ocean on Earth.
Right.
Can't really blame them.
True. So anyway, really good match. Phoenix gets the win though because I mean they're not letting them lose yet. They are. It
No,
took like
no.
2 months for Penta to eat a pin, so I imagine Phoenix is going to be the same. I wonder how we're going to get them to cross paths. It's got to happen eventually. Maybe the Judgment Day gets involved in the four-way because there's two members of the Judgment Day in the four-way at WrestleMania, and then that's where Ray Phoenix comes in.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to get a War Games out of it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're not going to do any war games until November, so it's got a long time to build.
Yeah. Now here's a big match we had, and not for any of the reasons that anybody wants it to be a big match. Zelina Vega versus Chelsea Green. I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but
I did hear about this.
Oh my gosh! So
I thought it was kind of funny, in a harmless way too.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Not.
So this is the first time I have ever on television seen a referee call it like it was legit, like he's supposed to call it like it was legit, and it end badly. So
Yeah.
Chelsea Green was Jack John at the announce team, and she did not hear. Like the referee stopped between like 7 and 8, and was like, "Hey, you need to get back in the ring." 8, 9, and then right as he counted 10, like right at like. I think he maybe could have hitched up for just a second and let her slide back in and make the count because it was pretty close. But he hit that 10, man, and disqualified her as she's like crawling back in the ring to pin Zelina Vega. And I don't know if that was the end of the match or not, but like I don't know if that pin was going to be the end. I don't know if it was or not. I don't think so. It was pretty short at that point.
From what I read, and this is just what I read, so, obviously, however many grains of salt you need to throw over your shoulder, do it. But from what I read, Zelina was actually supposed to win the match anyway, just not by count out.
Oh.
So it just worked. Honestly, I like the way it worked out. From what I heard, it's like, actually, that just kind of fits the character better anyway. She's supposed to be self-involved and self-absorbed, and I find it incredibly believable that she would have the match well in hand, but give in to her own hubris on the outside. I totally buy that.
Yeah.
You know? That's why I think this is funny, is because, you know what? Honestly, it probably worked out better than the original plan.
Yeah. So then we've got what I was expecting to be like a really great match, a really nice, like competitive pre-Mania match. We've got Roxanne Perez versus Tiffany Stratton. Except this match really didn't get going because Charlotte Flair came out and attacked Tiffany and just like beat the shit out of her like during her entrance pretty much, and just like assaulted the shit out of her. They did announce on this show that both of them were going to be fined for the way they acted in their last promo battle against each other. But I didn't know that they would do that. Like, it's weird that they announced that on television. That's usually something we hear about through the sheets.
Well, I mean,
because I think the punishment is legitimate. So we usually hear about that from the sheets. I don't know. I don't feel like they should be punished for any of that anyway. But whatever. It fell apart. Segments fall apart sometimes. These two don't have great chemistry. It's just what it is. I'm hoping the match is going to be great at WrestleMania. Charlotte laid a beating on her here. We still have one more SmackDown, so I don't know what the go-home math is exactly, but we'll see. And I'm sure this will probably be like midway through night 2, so we might actually get to talk about this as it happens. Hopefully. I would like to cover it directly on this show, but if not, I'll be tweeting about it on Blue Sky, guys. So either way, somebody will get my thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Then, as we kind of set up earlier, now we've got Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton and LA Knight. I don't think I need to say much about this match. Everybody who knows these 4 competitors knows how they work. And heading into WrestleMania, I don't think there was any question that with Jacob Fatu kind of splitting from these guys, that they're not near as scary of a thing as they were with Jacob Fatu with them. So Orton and LA Knight pick up the win pretty easly. Did
Tama Tonga at least make any weird noises?
He's always making weird noises, so yes. But yeah, I don't know why this was the main event. Like, they probably should have closed the show out on the Charlotte beating down Tiffany Stratton. Um, just because it needs more rub. It's already kind of gone to shit a couple times on television, and they need more
Yeah,
to it.
they
So
need to rebound it somehow.
yeah. I mean, I know I'm kind of short here, but that was it for SmackDown. It was a pretty good show for what was there. The wrestling was really good. They pushed along some good angles for WrestleMania. I'm glad Orton's going to get a match to replace the one he had, but I'm not going to be near as excited for it as I was going to be for him and Kevin Owens just beating the crap out of each other. So I think that was it. SmackDown was good this week, and that's going to lead us into the hot tag.
That's fine. It's fine by me that you were short because I went long in both my segment and yours. So yeah, let's go to the hot tag, huh?
Hell yeah.
All right, hot tag time. AEW Collision, April 12th, 2025. How are we a third of the way through this month already? Jeez Louise. They are in Springfield tonight, live. So this wasn't a tape show. This was live in Springfield, not that far from Boston, where they're going to be next week. Huge show. It's going to break Nitro's record for longest continuous branded show of wrestling on Turner Networks. Eric Bischoff is going to have a conniption, and it's going to be wonderful. He's going to pretend that he's not mad, but he's going to be mad. He's going to be real salty. Yeah. Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness are on commentary. I only bring that up because it will be important very, very soon. But they announced at the top of the show that it's going to be the Ops getting their Trios Styles match on Dynamite next week at Spring Breakthrough. But because Pac got legitimately injured, they're going to let Mox step in and take his place.
Yeah.
Our friend at AEW Rankings had a good point. They did not let the Bang Bang Gang do this when Jay White got injured. They had them vacate the trios belts.
Yeah.
Which is how Pac and Claudio and Yuta wound up in the position to win them in the first place, actually. The Patriarchy won it beforehand, but then they put them up in the ladder match at All In last year, and that's where they won them. So it's coming up on 10 months or so that they've held on to these belts. By far the longest reign with the title in its history so far. I imagine that they were probably planning on having them drop it at All In. I imagine that all the Death Riders are probably going to lose the belts at All In. But with Pac being hurt, I don't know. You can kind of write this off as the Bucks are back in town and they're taking charge of things, and so they're probably facilitating allowing Mox at their discretion to fill in as another way of extending an olive branch to the Death Riders instead of just stripping them of the belts. They have not said that specifically. So this is just speculation at this point. But I imagine that that's probably how they're going to word it on Dynamite. Especially if they retain. I don't know that they retain now. With Pat getting injured, I feel like there's a really good chance that they could switch the belts.
They could, yeah.
I think that probably wasn't originally the plan. They were probably going to run this match back at All In, I would imagine, and dropping the belts there. But I don't know. With Pac out, they may pivot, and if that was ever the plan, I don't know. I call it a pivot, but I don't know the plan.
Right.
Maybe it was the plan to drop it here all along. I don't know. But either way, I think there's a higher likelihood now of a title switch happening, especially on a big show like that. Title changes aren't uncommon on big shows like this, so just another reason to tune in, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
After that announcement, though, FTR come to the ring, and they are not welcomed warmly by the Springfield crowd. They are over his heels. Their attack on Copeland, they're honestly kind of over the top attack on Copeland.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It probably needed to be though, because FTR has been so over,
And so beloved.
basically on their work ethic. They
Yeah.
had to turn them babyface based on the fact that they were having these bangers with everybody and winning all these belts except for the AEW tag belts. Like they were essentially like the undisputed tag team champions except for the Acclaimed, who had the AEW tag belts. Um, but yeah, it was. I think he probably had to go over the top with it in order to get this kind of reaction, which is what they wanted. They didn't want them cheered for.
Yeah.
So that's why they're going really, really hard with it. And you'll see that later on that they go really, really hard into it. I love it. Like I mean they're working really hard to establish FTR as just bastards. Um but the segment opens up with Cash actually on the mic first, saying that it was, regardless of what you may think, this was not a premeditated attack. It was just in that moment, all that talk that Dax had been saying leading up to the moment where we lost, it finally clicked in my head. Yeah, Cope was holding us back for his own benefit, so that he could have one last run of glory, so it could serve his purposes. Sure, he saved us from the Death Riders, but it was with an ulterior motive, and I'm just not gonna let that slide. And basically said, and when you make that kind of decision, you kind of have to go all in with it. So
Yeah.
Dax gets on the mic now, and he can barely get a word in. People do not want to hear any of his excuses, which is great. That's the exact kind of reaction you want for this.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Dax takes the mic and he says, you should be thanking him because we gave Cope everything he wanted. He wanted to be relevant in 2025, and how was he going to do that? Well, he couldn't win the world title, so it wasn't going to be that way. And he tried to ride us to a trios title, and that didn't work. Well, we sure made him relevant by making him the topic of conversation on all your lips. So, you're welcome, Cope. Um, but then he brings up Tony. He's like, Tony Schiavone, all these people have something to say. We heard you had something to say too. Well, now we're actually here in the building, so you want to come up and say it to our faces? And Tony Schiavone, to his credit, gets up in there and he does not back down. And I loved this for his character. Because usually, the babyface commentators are all like, getting in the ring with the heels, and they're all nervous and they're all twitchy and they're all trying to take it back because they know the danger there. But Tony just stood right up to them, and he didn't hold back, and he didn't say anything that he wasn't willing to say on Wednesday. And I thought that was a great character move for him. Like, if you're gonna establish the commentators as their own characters, which you should do, considering they're the voice you hear over everything.
Yeah.
They're the ones that influence how people are supposed to listen to and watch and absorb the content of your show. It's good to give them character.
Yeah.
And it's good to give Tony Schiavone some balls. Like,
Right.
that's great. Like, I think it was great that he didn't back down.
Yeah. It was pretty great.
Notable about this was before he did that, before he got in the ring, Nigel McGuinness told him not to go there.
Yeah.
With genuine concern. He's like, no, you don't. You know what these. You just saw what they did to Cope. Why are you getting in there? Please don't. And he was right. Because as soon as he explains that he asked himself how. Dax should be asking himself how his daughter felt going into school the next day, with all of her friends knowing that his dad did that to one of his best friends on worldwide television. They tried to set him up for a spike pile driver. And Nigel, the mensch that he is, he gets in the ring, and even though he gives Tony crap day in and day out, he showed that he loved the guy by getting in there and protecting him. It was really actually kind of sweet.
Yeah.
It really was. It was some affection that is like, getting affection from Nigel McGuinness is like squeezing blood from a stone.
Yeah.
So I felt like we witnessed an honest to God miracle
Right.
in this segment. It was like, oh wow, I saw a unicorn. Like, it was really good. Everything about the segment worked and it clicked, and it wasn't even done yet because in the ring, it looks like they're gonna attack Nigel, and then Danny Garcia's music hits, and he comes out and he tries to pull Dax away, and it echoed the last couple of segments that these guys were in, where Dax shoves a guy that he didn't know was there. Like he shoved referees, he shoved Cash, and now it was Danny's turn, and they're really really apologetic because they don't want to be on Danny's bad side. They don't have anything against Danny at this point.
Yeah.
So, they pick him up off the ground when he doesn't immediately accept their handshake, and they force a group hug, and Garcia is just stiff as a board. He's like, when's it gonna come? What do I say? What do I say? What do I expect from this? And then they leave, and they leave him alone. And then Danny goes to check on Tony as he's sitting back down, like any good baby face would and should. Like, dude gets it. Danny gets it. He like his progress to watch it blossom over the last 3 or so years has been a real treat. Like, because he's getting those little things now. Like, his wrestling has always been on point, but now he's getting those little things. I would argue that as bad as the Jericho Appreciation Society was, that Danny Garcia did benefit from being around Jericho because he's picking up these little things like this. And I don't know if he had been around anybody else. I mean, there's a chance that it could have all wound up the same, but I do think that, he benefited from being in the Jericho. He's not a victim of the Jericho vortex. He's a beneficiary of the Jericho learning tree.
Yeah.
Which is, you can't say about everybody. There's a reason that the vortex exists as a concept. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Danny, in the long run, did really benefit from it, and it's showing up here. Everything about that segment was aces. Loved it. Absolutely adored that segment. And it ended right when it needed to. It didn't linger. Next was Timeless Toni Storm in the back with Luther running down her opponents in a way that only she can, really. like it was Timeless Toni. Anytime she shows up even for a minute, it makes my entire day. I love her so much.
The line that she did about I'll wear you on my wrist and make you sing
Call
Rainbow
me Jim
Connection.
Henson. Yeah.
Made Katie laugh out loud, like, so hard. Like, she fucking busted out loud.
I don't blame her. It had me in stitches.
Dude, I
love the fact that the only woman that she had nothing bad to say, which might be a tell as to who's winning the tournament. It might be a tell. But it might be foreshadowing. But it was Chris Statlander, and all she said was, "My God, what a woman!" And it's hard to blame her.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue.
Yeah,
it's just, I feel like, she got an entire division over in like the span of 60 seconds, 90 seconds maybe. Like,
it really was fantastic.
She's on top of the world right now. Nobody can touch her.
No.
Nobody even comes close.
No.
Like, across all of pro wrestling right now, nobody is as hot and dialed in on their character as Toni Storm is. That being said, we get the first of 3 women's matches.
Dude, that
on this
shit
show
was crazy, man. I was like, 3 women's matches, hell yes.
Everything was great too. Like, as good as Jamie Hayter versus Billy Stark's 1 was, this was even better.
Mm-hmm.
These two have incredible chemistry with one another. Like, I could see, put them in an Iron Woman match and I am happy.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. Billy Stark's again did the job, but like, I think her stock is just climbing. She's got a rocket strapped to her. As soon as they figure out what exactly they want to do with her, besides essentially being on a long introduction tour to the AEW main audience, I think they're really going to strap the rocket to her. I think that maybe instead of beating uh, Athena for the the Ring of Honor Women's World Women's Championship, I think maybe they have her beat her on the main stage for the TBS title.
That'd be great.
I think that that would benefit her more than anything that they could have her do in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Um, that's down the road though. We have to get there months ahead of time. But
Yeah.
anyway, Jamie Hayter throws everything at Billy, and Billy is just kicking out of everything, really showing some grit. They throw like there was a suplex off the apron to the floor. Good lord! Like how do you? I mean, it was just a simple suplex
Dude.
that she spun around to the floor, but there's no give on the concrete floor.
Mm-mm.
Those mats are not that thick. They do not provide a lot of padding.
No.
It's enough padding so that your feet don't hurt after extended walking on them.
Yep.
That's about it.
That's exactly what they're
all
for.
it is. Hey, you guys remember high school gym? Those are the same mats.
Yeah.
Imagine landing on that over and over and over again. Goodness gracious. I somehow they're both in before the 10 count. Uranagi across the knee by a Hater, and then she hangs on to the arm to deliver the Haterade. And like, geez, like this was freaking great. Like Starks is still a little green. Some of her strikes look way too telegraphed.
Yeah.
Like anytime she goes to try to attempt a clothesline, it's like, but like, dude, she's got it. Like she's got it. She's almost all the way there, and she's like 21 or something ludicrous.
I'd say she's 19, I think, and
I don't.
19 or 20,
Good.
And
like
I would
like she and Nick Wayne, and those two, they have two absolute prodigies.
Yeah.
They were so lucky to get their hands on these.
I would
kids.
say 2 or 3 more years. She'd probably be like
carrying the division.
Yeah, easily.
She's carrying the division in 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna get we need like another year of like Harley cooking before she.
Yeah.
Is where we could put her on a mic to mic battle with Tony Storm and be highly entertained. Billy, I would say
is where she shines the most.
I would say Billy.
Billy's honestly
2 or 3
Billy
years
is the one who
probably
needs the most work on the mic. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's just gonna take time. It's gonna take time and minutes and exposure.
Yeah,
and that's it.
But she's gonna get him because she's
yeah, she's well on her way for sure. For sure.
She's so impressive. So impressive. I was really happy with that match. I didn't expect Billy to pull the upset. Although if anybody was going to pull an upset that was already announced for one of the tournaments, she was the one that I was betting on.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, so I don't expect... I mean, the only one that might pull it out now is the wild card that's facing Adam Page, whoever that is. I mean, wild cards are there to throw a wrench in the process.
I've seen a lot of speculation on who it could be, and I'm like, in some ways, I'm like, okay, that would be cool, and then others, I'm like, please, dear God, no.
I mean, it could be Josh Alexander. It could be the returning scapegoat. It could be any number of guys. It could be...
Let's itemize those. 1, yes. 2, please, dear God, no.
The most interesting one that I came across was somebody's idea on Skyline, or on Blue Sky, that said... What if Matt or Nick Jackson comes out and they're the wild card and they just lay down for Hangman as a peace offering?
I mean, maybe
the story of how does Hangman react to it? What does he do? Because that's the intrigue with Hanger is it's not his matches anymore. It's you put him in an uncomfortable situation and what carries him is the intrigue over what he will do in non-wrestling situations. Really, like that's his gimmick now, is that he's the guy that's so over that you're more interested in not the matches but the outside stuff, the decisions that he makes.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a really interesting decision that you could force him to make, and I don't really know how I would book that. I honestly don't.
That's. I mean, I think maybe
I mean,
if I were to book that, I would be like, I would leave it. So I would say, okay, here's what's going to happen. Now, Hangman's your character, so how does Hangman react? I mean, that would have to be where it's not like I booked it up to here. How you react is completely up to you because you are Hangman.
I feel so. Like, I'm thinking like maybe Matt comes down. Like if I was booking this on off the top of my head, Matt comes down. He announces that he lays down finger poke of doom style, WCW Bash at the Beach 2000 style, and Hanger doesn't want to do it, and so he walks out. Matt tells the referee that he's fired if he continues to 10 count. Which brings Hanger back, like, hey, come on now, don't do that. Like, come on, man. So it forces him to get back in the ring, and then Matt powders and tells the ref to count him out. Hanger goes to try and bring him back, but Nick comes out, holds his, like, reaches under the rope and grabs his ankle to keep him in the ring behind the referee's back as he's counting Matt out. He counts Matt out. Hangman advances, feels even more weird about it because he advances. He doesn't like how it happens. So what does he do against Fletcher?
Mauls him.
I mean, you got to figure he mauls him to justify in his own mind that he still belongs in this tournament, despite the fact that he got what amounts to an unfair bye.
Yeah.
So that, maybe he's just more vicious throughout the rest of the tournament because he realizes part of him just can't be convinced that he doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
And that plays into Hangman's biggest insecurity, is that he's not worthy of the things that he's worthy of. That's his whole character, like his whole character boiled into a nutshell is his insecurity surrounding, do I really deserve this? Put him in a position where he's forced to face that again. Maybe it could work out. I'm not making a headcanon. I'm not expecting it to happen. This was an idea I saw on Blue Sky that I'm just booking on the fly. But I think it could be interesting.
Yeah.
And interesting in the way that people who are interested in Hangman Adam Page would be very interested.
Yeah.
Because that's the most interesting thing about him to them. So, anyway, Claudio's in the back with the other Death Riders. He says, "Only in death does duty end." Talks about what I assume is German, though Swiss sounds German too. So it could have been Swiss.
It was probably Swiss.
Probably. I mean, he speaks 5 different languages. It could have been. I don't know.
I don't know. It sounded a lot of. They were on vacation. Can't get punch was served.
Yeah. It sounded like one that I don't speak. So, but yeah, they said they expected casualties. Obviously, he means Pac. It's like, but we move on. We don't mourn them, etc. Which is very on brand. This is consistent with their mentality. Mox says he'll step in. He targets Hook specifically, and he's like, we know what Joe and Shibata are about. They're the real deal, but Hook, you're still kind of a question mark. You want to show up, that's cool, but just so you know, chicks dig scars, which was just such a badass condescending line. Like, I mean, I can barely believe that it came out of Mox's mouth. He's been so cryptic and non-committal in a lot of the things that he's been saying. Just say more cool stuff like this. Like, this was awesome. That was a great line. It was like, it made me hate. I was like, oh man. On Hook's behalf, I was like, oh, you did not. Like, you did not just already walk past him in your mind. Like, and just totally write him off as a non-factor in this. Like, oh, you're gonna get choked out. Like,
right.
I felt very protective of Hook, which was the intention, I think. So good on them. Two local guys versus the returning Gates of Agony. Haven't seen them in a while.
Dude,
Love
what
those
is
guys.
with that guy? He looks like somebody drew those abs on him. Like, holy shit.
Bishop Khan?
Yes.
Dude, mate, possibly the best physique in wrestling.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
And he's a guy that, like, hardly anybody in the main wrestling universe has ever heard of. Like, unless you watch Ring of Honor or AEW religiously, like, you wouldn't know who he is. But the dude looks like an action figure.
Tell me how these aren't Vince McMahon era WWE guys. Like, these are exactly what he would. He would love these guys.
Yeah, these guys would be great because Khan's got the physique, and Toliona is the big menacing Samoan. It's like perfect.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the best
yeah.
of both worlds. Like,
yeah, this is Vince. This is Vince. Like, okay, y'all ain't gonna like me saying that, but this is exactly the type of team that Vince McMahon would have hired and booked.
He would have toned down their work.
He would have toned
toned
them down a little bit. He would have made them into monsters. He would have given them like a 50-match undefeated streak. They would have been tag team champions. Like,
honestly, though, I wouldn't even hate that because I like these guys.
I do too. Lot. So yeah,
like, ever since they showed up in the rebirth, the Renaissance. Well, maybe not Renaissance. I don't want to put too. It's not been like super great, but like the rebranding of ROH. Like these guys have been there since the buyout, and they've been only improving with each passing time I've seen them. Yeah. Like they're finally getting some mic time, which they were not afforded a lot of.
No.
So, no, dude, I like these guys. It looks like they're gonna put them up against the Hurt Syndicate. They're gonna feed them to them. But
that's kind of upsetting too, because I'm like, man, this could be a hell of a match. Like, not just some throwaway. I think that
this is a really, really good opportunity for these two. Because if they show up and show out in this match that they're going to have on, I think it was Dynamite.
I think it's Dynamite, yeah, at Breakthrough.
If they show up and show out and have an excellent match and have great chemistry with the Hurt Syndicate, I could see him running it back. Wouldn't be the first time Tony Khan made a call like that. The only reason the Acclaimed won the tag belts is because they were so over against Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. And they ran it back specifically to drop the belts to them. That was not the plan. It was not the plan to strap them up. At least not at that point.
No.
So, I don't know. Gates of Agony have a similar opportunity on their plate. In a very, very small chance that they listen to this podcast, we're rooting for you guys to show up and show out because this is a huge opportunity. I'm rooting for you to... I think it's unlikely that they'll switch the belts to them, but I feel like this is a really good opportunity to plead a case that maybe they should be the next ones in line.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they got me hyped for a match that is in 4 days, so 5 from when the show happened. So they got me hyped for a match that's 5 days away with a squash of a local jobber tag team and a 30-second mic spot.
Yeah.
Don't fucking disappoint me. All right? Goddamn. I usually don't get this invested in this kind of build because literally none. I mean, they get 3.5 minutes of total TV time or something like that we got of these guys. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to see them against Hurt Syndicate because they look like they could fucking hurt somebody. Like,
yeah, they even said, you hurt people, we break people. I'm looking forward to that. I'm a lot looking forward to that. Shot goes back to the back where FTR have their luggage and they're looking to leave because they don't have a scheduled match. So, they're just going to be real heels and not and leave before the end of the show because, unwritten rule of wrestling, you don't leave until the show's over.
That's heat shit, yeah. That's definitely a heel move.
Yeah. But Lexi Nair catches up with them. Justice 2.0 also catch up with them. Angelo Parker, great to see you. How's daddy life been treating you? Because I know from that life. Ugh, no wonder you only make sporadic appearances.
It's still treating them better than. Never mind. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah. In any case, 2.0 is really, really upset with FTR. They're like, we waited a year and a half for you to show your true colors, and you finally did it. Don't you dare drag Danny Garcia into this. He's our boy. Do not betray him like you betrayed Adam Copeland. And Dax is like, well, you want to fight about it? We got time. You know, we can turn this around, get in our gear, and get in the ring. That's fine by us. How many matches are on the show? Let's go. So they set that up for later tonight. When was the last time you had an impromptu match set up on an AEW show? That never happens.
It barely ever happens anymore. They're mostly...
Ever.
Yeah. They're mostly like...
I love how
like the day of or the day before.
Like with Raw and SmackDown, sometimes it feels like half the show is being made up as you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this match... It's like, there are so many... It got to be a point on Raw where there were so many impromptu matches thrown at the screen that it was like, did they even have anything planned to be on this show? Or they were just expecting the wrestlers to make their own schedule.
Right.
Like, it defied logic.
Let's just see who shows up tonight, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I like AEW is like they don't overuse that. Like, this is the first time I can think of that an impromptu match was really set up.
Yeah.
I hope they stick to using it sparingly, because like most tropes, they're best when used sparingly.
Yeah.
They're exciting when they're used sparingly. When it becomes old hat, it's just like, ugh, was there any plan to this? Anthony Bowens, Blake Christian, honestly, like, this was so good. Like, this was one of my favorite matches of the entire week. They had surprising chemistry. Blake Christian does all these weird little things. Like, he's making the most of his time on TV. I don't know how he got, like, for lack of a better term, the call up. I don't think he's still technically all elite.
Yeah,
I don't think he's got a graphic.
Kevin Knight definitely did, but I don't think this guy did. I don't think Blake Christian did.
I don't think he did. Like, he's been working on Dark and Dark Elevation and Ring of Honor for several years now, but I don't think he ever got a graphic. I know he was GCW World Champ for a while, and that's where he developed into this heel persona. And he got a lot of heat from a lot of people, from what I understand. Like, he was very good in the role. I'm not sure where his vanilla baby persona came
so from. We can pause right here for a second for a lesson from Wrestling Aaron. Vanilla baby is straight up it's another word for baby face, but vanilla baby is going to be like John Cena at top top of his game. Baby face was what we would term like a super vanilla baby, because he's like the super good guy with the super good heart, and Stone Cold is not. Stone Cold's a baby face, but he's not a vanilla.
The whitest of white meat baby faces.
Yeah, there we go. That's what a vanilla baby is. Now, I guess it's an ironic term that they're calling him the vanilla baby.
I know he turned
even though he's a heel
in the middle of his GCW title reign. I'm wondering, and please let me know if I'm right or wrong on Blue Sky, because I don't know this. This is just conjecture. It seems, with the limited information I have, that maybe he was being called, plain and boring and vanilla as a babyface.
Maybe.
And turned heel to spite people, and is excelling in the role, but still adopting the vanilla baby thing as a matter of pride, reclaiming the phrase.
Yeah, you called me this, and this is not what I am.
Yeah.
Because right now his character that he plays is definitely not a vanilla babyface.
Absolutely not. He's a little bastard.
He's a little
heel.
shit. Yeah. I hate being old. Sometimes I hate being old because I can see an accomplished wrestler in the ring on television who is definitely an adult, and I'm like, a little shit, because he looks 12 to me, because I'm 40, and so he looks 12 to me. He looks like a 12-year-old, glued on a red mustache and beard. and then just went into a wrestling ring and was like, how can I be the biggest little shit in the world?
Yeah.
Because that's how he wrestles. He's like you're expecting him to start getting his ass kicked, and then he like little shits his way into fucking beating some, getting the offense for like 10 minutes, and it's like,
and then even then, like when he's not cheating, he's doing some little stuff that you've never seen before to show that he's technically really actually very good at the wrestling.
Yeah, and that pisses you off more because you don't want him to be as good as he is because he's fucking amazing. And oh god.
And because he doesn't have all the baggage of a Logan Paul, I don't feel bad about being a fan of this guy.
Right? Yeah, like he's a little shit, but I'd like to see more because him and
Bowens had this. Yeah,
him and Bowens had a banger, boy.
Like between this and his match with who was it? Kevin Knight, and then before that, even as short as it was with Omega, was good for what it was.
Yeah,
and he had a lot more offense in it than I thought he was going to be given. I thought it was going to be like another what's her name? Shoot, I can't remember their name, but that the Concrete Rose. Oh gosh, what's their name?
That's Sunny Kiss.
Oh, Sunny Kiss. Thank you. Okay. That one Omega match with Sunny Kiss where he just hit the V trigger standing and then hit the one winged angel. It was over. I thought it was going to be that kind of match.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be, I mean, not much longer. It was a few minutes longer, but it didn't. I don't think it even had a commercial break.
No.
Yeah, and but he still gave Blake a little bit of a shine to him on the way to the pin.
Yeah.
This was way more competitive. Both did stuff that was I've never seen before. Like Bowens did this like inverted Samoan, like torture rack Samoan drop thing. He called it the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Like it looked awesome. Like as cool as the rolling elbow is as a finisher, and as believable as it looks, like why aren't you using the Grand Slam as a finish? That looks like it could finish damn near anybody.
Right.
Like, as long as you can muscle them up on your shoulders. But I think Bowens has the power. Like, that dude is built like he's built like a tank, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure about the 5-tool player thing, though. I'm not sure about it. I mean, Bowens is over himself. I don't think he needs all that other shit.
I mean, it comes from his legitimate baseball background. So, I mean, I'd say it is the character that I think he's wanted to play for a long time. Like, he and Caster didn't meet until they were both in an elevator at the same time going up to a meeting, independent meetings that they had with Tony Khan.
Oh.
For interviews. So, like, he hired them both and then put them together as a tag team pretty much immediately. But the character that Bowens wanted to play was this 5-tool player. Now you've got, you've added the pride of pro wrestling on top of it. I don't know how many nicknames the person needs, but
I think the pride of pro wrestling works fine, and he should probably ride that one and not 5-tool player.
I think that's the better one.
Yeah.
Personally,
I mean, come on, he's had iconic moments with that. Like, there's more to it and everything already.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he hits the rolling elbow and finishes it. After there was a little scuffle with Billy Gunn and Shotty Lee Johnson on the outside. But other than that, it was mostly a clean fight with some cheating here and there by Blake Christian. But like this one, that gets a big thumbs up from me. I think both these guys were already on the rise, and they raised their stock again with it. Bowens gets the mic. He outlines what it means in wrestling terms, in his idea of being a 5-star player, 5-tool player rather. He doesn't need a government trademark to prove that he's the best. He's just going to show us week in and week out. That's fine, totally.
Yeah, fair. Show me who you are, big man.
Next up was Megan Bain versus two ladies getting the Big Show treatment.
Oh,
no,
man.
seriously, like it reminded me of all those big handicap matches
Me
that Big
too.
Show had.
Like a Big Show match,
except
like
that Megan Bain's a lot more
match.
fun to watch. Like,
Yeah,
because she's a lot more dynamic in there. She's not slow. She's not plodding. She's not 7 feet tall. But like she hits Fate's Descent on one. She uses one of the wrestlers to hit the Fate's Descent on the other and pins them both. Like, it was great. It was a great little squash match. Like, I mean, if that's the only way you're getting 3 matches on a card for the women, I suppose I can accept that.
I guess so.
AR Fox versus Kevin Knight was next. Lots of flips, lots of flies.
Of course.
Lots of guys getting their stuff over. Surprisingly short.
That standing Hurricane Rana.
Yeah.
The top rope.
Dude's got hops.
He hopped off the mat to Hurricane Rana somebody off the top rope. That was enough for me to be like,
AR
fuck
Fox,
yes.
too, who is deceptively tall. He's very...
Yeah.
Everything about him
He's
is
got a
tall.
lengthy body, so yeah.
So, like, that's even longer because his torso is so long.
Yeah.
That's even longer than
Such a
probably
high
his
hop,
average
dude.
opponent. Like, really, just, I know he's, I was a little slow to hop on the Kevin Knight train, but the dude's got something.
Yeah. There's something about him, man, but he's
like,
got it.
I feel like they shouldn't have booked as many matches on this card as they did because some of them came off a little short.
Yeah.
Like, and this was one of those shorter matches that I wish had a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because it's my boy AR Fox, but
I was
it's
gonna say,
also
I always
because-
want AR Fox to have more time.
Yeah, me too. Like, for his own sake, like he worked so hard for so long to get to this position.
Yeah.
And he's like one of those guys who was deceptively influential on the indie scene. He's one of those guys that people always talk about. Oh, he helped me so much. He did this, he did that, but he never got the call up until a couple of years ago. So like, it's really good to see him succeed. But I do wish that Knight. I wish that he would just use the top rope UFO splash for the win instead of the springboard clothesline.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the cool stuff that he does, he finishes people off with a springboard clothesline.
It looked like a phenomenal
I know
forearm.
I know the height that, well, at least with the phenomenal forearm, it legitimately knocked the Miz's tooth out. So you know that he's hitting them. Like, the problem with the springboard clothesline is that instead of coming across somebody's chest, you wind up coming down, and it just never really looks like it hurts a guy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was the only nitpick I have in this match. Otherwise, it was great. But probably the most memorable match on the show took place here because it was the impromptu match FTR versus 2.0. The match barely begins and FTR is all over Parker and Menard and just like white on rice, which is they open up Menard really early,
really fast.
I don't know how.
I didn't even know. Yeah, I just, like, 1 minute he was fine, and the next minute, like, the camera zoomed in on him, and he was just
covered.
Yeah, he was bleeding
Absolutely.
hard.
Just like he was on his way to a full Muda if the match had lasted 5 minutes longer.
Yeah.
But this was pretty much an extended squash match. Dax just beat the crap out of Menard in the ring while Cash took care of Cool Hand Ange on the outside for the most part until like the last minute of it, where it looked like Menard was going to get he got a hope spot. It looked like he was coming back and beating Dax down in the corner, but then Cash came in and evened things out. Shatter Machine to Parker as he tried to hit the ring. Spike pile driver to Menard. Another one. And it looks like they're going to go for a third before the pinfall. But Danny Garcia, who had come to the ring to watch the match, he was invited by both teams to be there. He gets up on the apron and implores FTR not to hit the third one. And after some kind of going back and forth, they eventually listen to him and they pin Menard. After the match, Garcia checks on Daddy Magic, and FTR leaves the ring. And then as soon as Danny's back is turned, they hit the ring and they just beat the crap out of Garcia too. And it made they hit 2 spike pile drivers on him. They go for a third. Referee's there finally, and then Dax hits Mike Posey again.
Again, yeah.
And as soon as they get Garcia up for a third spike pile driver, Paragon hit the ring because Adam Cole has, a very open and public respect for Danny Garcia, not just after, but also before, the title switch, the TNT title switch. So
yeah,
and then you add in the little like back and forths that they had, that they're 1-1 on each other, FTR and Roddy and Kyle are 1-1 with each other in AEW. So this will lead to a third match probably. So there's a lot of history in the groundwork of this segment too. Like it played on all this stuff. The FTR stuff to me dominated the show in the best way. Like they really committed to this heel turn. They're really trying to hammer it home, and it's working for them. That crowd was all over FTR. Did not care about their previous matches or persona. Had no idea about giving Cash an idea. It didn't let them plead their case. It was everything about this whole show regarding FTR was great. After this was Harley Cameron versus Athena. This was way better than it probably had any right to be. But you're in there with Athena, who is arguably the best pound for pound female wrestler in the world. And probably you can throw the female, out of that sentence. It's just probably one of the best wrestlers in the world, period. Yeah. Honestly, like, I shouldn't have even put that qualifier in there. She's just one of the best. Yeah. Period. Doesn't matter your gender. She made Harley Cameron look like $1 million. There was nary a puppet to be found. So, I kind of missed the puppet, but to me, in my mind, that image of her in Australia coming up from the side of the ring with Minnie Monet there, with her face all disheveled and everything, is to me that's iconic already. So, I should kind of miss the puppet, but the story of the match was Athena basically underestimating Harley, which gave Harley opportunities to show out. And then it just kept kind of going along that track until Athena just basically got tired of her, tired of putting up with her. Cameron looked like she was going to hit her finishing move, but it was countered into a power bomb. It wasn't like a great power bomb. There was some awkwardness there, but the second deadlift power bomb hit. Then she did this weird inside out knee strike thing where she basically bent Harley over her and then twisted her around into a knee lift, and it looked great, but that's about the best I could describe it. She hits the O face and that's it. Great freaking match. Again, Harley, her growth is amazing. It's fantastic to see. It's great to see Athena on AEW TV again. I've missed her so much. And it looks like they're on the fast track. I mean, in Boston, in Mercedes' hometown, they're doing the match between her and Athena. And you gotta figure the match is probably gonna have a screwy finish so that the other one can screw them over in the final. Yeah, that looks to be the way they're going. The only other option is maybe they go to a draw and have it be a 3-way for the final, which they haven't done before. So, you're always trying to keep these tournaments a little different from year to year in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So that they could go a different route that way. It would definitely immediately set it apart from the men's tournament, which I don't think is going to go that way.
Mm.
Speaking of the men's tournament, Konosuke Takeshita versus Brody King. Big, meaty men slapping me. This match ruled. This match was awesome. This was like Konosuke, they keep talking about him being deceptively large. Well, Brody King is actually large. There's no deception necessary. And so a lot of the normal offense that Takeshita usually brings to the table didn't work quite as well on Brody King. You know what worked well on Takeshita? Brody King's chops. They worked really, really well throughout this match. Like, he brought the chops, Takeshita brought the elbows. Eventually, it was knees that won it, because after just about 15 minutes of them just beating the crap out of each other, including Takeshita hitting that overhook tombstone pile driver on Brody, which was insane. And Nigel on commentary calling the lariat Lariato, which got a huge pop from me.
Me too.
Huge pop from me.
Me too.
I was watching in my room like, he said the thing. Nobody says the thing.
Yeah, nobody does that.
That's awesome. I thought I was the only one who said the thing in this country. It was fantastic. And coming from somebody who made a career out of throwing lariats left and right, too. Kind of means something.
Right.
But yeah, Takeshita hits 4 freaking power drive knees to eventually put Brody King down, including bringing down the elbow pad on the last one, or the last 2. Like, Brody King is... AEW does this really good job, generally, of making their big monsters look great even when they lose. The problem is their monsters lose too often. Like, they stem the tide of taking away their mystique by having them look so good in defeat, but eventually, just due to attrition, if these monsters don't get wins, eventually nobody's going to take them seriously. Nobody took Kane seriously after a while. Nobody took Big Show seriously after a while. Nobody ever took Snitsky or Heidenreich seriously. Like, it was once you do that too often, once you kill them, slay the beast too often, they cease to be a beast.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, it helps when it's a big guy that's doing it, another big dude. But all that to say, I hope that they put some push behind Brody King pretty soon, because dude shows up every single time. He has bangers with pretty much everybody. Like, nobody's a better opponent for Darby Allin than Brody King, like, ever. Like, I feel like they're getting close to the time where if they don't push him soon, then nobody's going to take him seriously anymore. And that would be a shame. All in all, I thought Collision was great this week. I thought it was definitely better than Dynamite. Everything about the FTR stuff was top tier, top shelf stuff. There were 3 women's matches. All 3 were good. Even the squash was fun. Like, Anthony Bowens and Blake Christian was a sleeper hit. Kevin Knight and AR Fox was great, even though it didn't go as long as it could. Gates of Agony, like, there was tons of great stuff on this show.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't anything that was bad. Like, this was damn near a perfect show. It just had probably too many squash matches. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Definite top tier show. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go do it, because it's definitely worth it. And I've been talking for 53 minutes about the show. I should shut up. So, how about, instead of me talking ad nauseum, how about we do what's that thing that we do now, Aaron? What is that thing?
We do it like the pros do and call it in the ring.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's do that. Calling it in the ring. So, I'm going to let you talk because I talked for almost an hour. And I feel like I'm dominating the conversation.
All right, so this week we're just gonna. Okay, so we have next weekend. Instead of our normal broadcast type of show, we're gonna do another watch along. We're gonna do night 2 of WrestleMania. So in that vein, Call It in the Ring this week is gonna be some of our like favorite matches and moments from WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
I think my first one. It's on a lot of lists when people talk about this stuff because it's kind of an obvious pick, but um, we were also there for it live. Of course, it's Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. This is arguably one of the best, or maybe the best WrestleMania match like in history. Like this isn't just like
It's on a lot of people's lists, that's for
yeah,
sure.
it's definitely on a lot of lists. A lot of top fives, a lot of everything really. But I I definitely would kick off with that one just because we were there for it live. It was a heated ass battle. It was everything it needed to be. Full of drama. It had 100,000 people just like holding their breath at 3 counts and stuff, and just like every time a 2 count happened, there was audible gasps and like sighs of relief or cheers or boos or um oh man, it was I think being there live probably skews my bias a little bit, but worth it.
Yeah,
It
totally.
it was something to behold, really. Just the level of control that two guys had over a crowd without a microphone being involved.
Yeah.
Like it was something else. So yeah, I mean that's definitely my first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, obviously, it's historically significant as well. But to me, like, I think also what's also skewing our bias a little bit is it probably wouldn't stand out as much. It would definitely stand out, but it probably wouldn't stand out as much if the rest of the show wasn't mostly faff.
Yeah,
Like, it was one of those examples of people fondly remember a show for one match, and that will color their entire view of the show, which speaks to the power that three really, because the referee should count as well.
yeah,
Uh, that three people can have over a crowd of what was 70,000 or whatever it was.
yeah,
Like we
huge.
were in the, I mean, and to me too, that was special. Like we were in the Astrodome.
Yeah.
Like it was awesome. Like it was freaking great. Um. Oh, I'm sorry. Reliance Stadium. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's the same thing.
Actually,
Same
no,
thing.
it's not the same thing.
It's the same thing to me. Damn it.
They're next door to one another. They're not the same thing.
Yeah.
But
Well.
Reliant is like
Yeah. Well.
still huge ass stadium.
Reliance Stadium's actually bigger, so it's actually
Huge
needs
ass
more. But
stadium. Yeah.
yeah, the dome fits like 50,000, right? Something like that. So it's still like
like 50 or
very,
60 for
very
wrestling
big. But
purposes, probably closer to 80. But Reliant, yeah, 100.
they had had shows in the dome before.
Mm-hmm.
17. Ooh, was it 17? Right? Was in the dome.
Yeah, I think X7 was in the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I believe it was at the
Um,
Astrodome.
yeah, which is why they shouldn't have chosen to turn Austin there of all places. Uh,
Yeah, bad idea.
yeah, but yeah, you're right. That match, Shawn and Taker, and the great thing was it was the first time that they had had a singles match since their casket match that busted up Matt Michaels' back.
Yeah,
Like they saved it. They saved it for WrestleMania because they knew how big it was. They knew it. This was a match that was, 2009 to 1998. So that was literally like 11 years in the making.
Yeah.
11 plus, really, because their casting match was a Royal Rumble. So, yeah, 11 plus years in the making. As soon as they touched in Royal Rumble that year, it was like, oh. No, that's obviously, that's one that you and I share.
Yeah.
Because our personal, we were there. It was my first WrestleMania. The one I'm going to talk about right now is also from a personal standpoint because I've been to 4 WrestleManias, and this was from 31. Like, that whole show was amazing. 31 was far and away the best WrestleMania I've been to. 100%. There were no real duds on there. There was just, Sting versus Triple H was confusing because of Sting not winning.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much the only downside to that show. And people honestly put too much weight on that when they come to grade that show, because other than that, the show was from top to bottom great. I feel like, though, I would be remiss, since I was there for it, if I didn't put the Heist of the Century on this list. Because I was there in Santa Clara, ladies and gentlemen, and there weren't a lot of people who wanted Roman Reigns to win, and there were not a lot of people who wanted Brock Lesnar to win. The match itself in a vacuum is fine. It's pretty good, actually. Probably the best that, Lesnar and Reigns probably, they had like 7 one-on-one matches or something like that.
Some ridiculous
like
number.
I think every single one of them is over a world title and stuff like that. Only one of them has a tractor, so but
that was my favorite one by
far. But like, this is probably the best like pure wrestling match that they had. But like, you wouldn't know it because nobody was getting the reactions Brock was getting the reactions that were intended, but Reigns sure wasn't.
No.
This crowd let him know it.
They're saying boo earns.
They're saying boo. I was saying boo earns. But what, as soon as you heard, Seth's music, especially since he lost earlier that night to Randy in one of the best RKOs ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's 1 or 1A. It's one of those two. It's either that or the Evan Bourne one. It's those two. Those are the best RKOs of all time.
Yeah.
And I was there for one of them. It was a moment I'll never forget, because my friends that I was sitting with, we were so excited about the cash-in, because we had no idea it was coming. We thought we were going to have to just, eat our crap that was put on our plate. Like, okay, well, Reigns is winning. All right. And if Reigns isn't winning, then Brock is winning. All right. We didn't realize we had the secret third option. Somebody ordered off the secret menu and gave us Seth Rollins, and everybody was way more satisfied with that. It wasn't just jubilation in that crowd. It was relief in that crowd that WWE finally did something. I don't want to say right, because I don't think that's the correct choice of words, but they finally did something that would send us home happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were still riding off that WrestleMania 30 wave, like with Daniel Bryan, and that's another one I want to put on this list, is Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30 for the catharsis alone.
Right? Yeah. Okay. I put that one on there too. Yeah.
It's not just that he had Triple H's best match in years and years, and probably Triple H, one of Triple H's best matches ever, and certainly probably certainly his best WrestleMania match was against Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of another one that eclipses it. Maybe the Hell in the Cell with Taker. Maybe. That's I don't know though. And it's one of the best openers in WrestleMania history too. That opened the show. Triple H and Daniel Bryan had this incredible match to open the show, and it had to because otherwise Daniel Bryan wouldn't get any rest before he went to the main event. And then the main event is great too. Like, you wouldn't. Daniel Bryan's the one that makes it all work because, you know, Batista and Orton, especially during that era, were Batista and Orton.
Yeah.
You know, there was a reason nobody wanted to see that as a singles main event. But adding Daniel Bryan in there, oh man, that crowd was so high. I could feel it even at my friend's house where I was watching on TV. Like, all of us, there were like 12 of us there, and we were all just like, we were on edge the entire time. And I kind of love that feeling as a wrestling fan. That kind of good tension. You know something, you know how it should go. You know how it might go. But you've got the feeling that they're actually going to give you what you want. And you're excited for it. You just have to get there. And so, like, when they put him through the table, like, halfway through that match and kind of eliminate him, like, oh no, is he actually going to come back or not? Like, you don't know. Because it was that regime, and they didn't like Daniel Bryan. So it was very easy to believe that they were just teasing you, because how many times have we been teased in the past by that? You know, when there wasn't a WCW or an AEW to combat them and they were alone at the top of the mountain, Vince decided to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. And the fans be damned. So it was very plausible, in my mind, that it was like, oh, they're just dicking us around. Please don't do this to me. But that tension ultimately added to the match and added to the elation at the end. Like, I can't think of a better end to a WrestleMania than Yeselmania, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the best one in the... Yeah. I would say that's probably the best ending for sure.
Again, it's about catharsis, you know? It's like,
yeah.
Oh, we finally made it. We made something happen. Like, we got what we wanted. It was empowering.
Yeah. Like, for once, we get what we want.
And then they kind of went right back to, you know, they don't take it seriously when your first opponent to defend the title against is Kane.
Yeah.
So.
Like,
oh well.
I think another one for me, this is, I am pretty much the same age as WrestleMania. Like, we got 42 coming up. I'll be 42 this year. So I'm pretty much the same age as WrestleMania. So right around the time that I start remembering WrestleManias and remembering, like, watching them live and remembering, like, really seeing them and then being really into them, WrestleMania 10. And, I mean, I have a buffet of things to pick from WrestleMania 10.
It's a sleeper hit, really.
But
like,
by far my favorite, is Brett and Owen at WrestleMania 10. I mean, tell me when I'm telling lies. Probably one of the best technical matches of all time. Just based on the fact that these two guys were both really great technical wrestlers. They were trained in the same place, so their repertoires were largely similar. Being able to come up with something creative in the face of, you know, basically having the Spider-Man meme for your movesets. And then also simultaneously making it a match where you completely 180 someone's, like, status of being over. Like, Owen Hart was Bret Hart's little brother walking into the match at WrestleMania 10. And walking out of the match at WrestleMania 10, Owen Hart was not Bret Hart's little brother anymore. It was Owen Hart.
The uncrowned number one contender.
The uncrowned number one contender, and the guy that, like, I think at that point we all kind of were like, all right, well, I mean, shit, now there's two of them. Like.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, and that's another contender for best opener, WrestleMania opener of all time, too.
Yeah.
That opened the show.
Yeah.
A lot of people remember that show mostly for the ladder match.
Which
they should.
Yeah.
They should. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Shawn and Razor there. But, like, I was, as much as I liked Shawn, and I did, I was always a Bret guy. And I was, I remember that match, I would wrestle with my brothers, Yeah. Don't do this at home. I was 9. What do you want?
Yeah.
I remember Garrett, my brother Garrett, who created our theme song for this, for our podcast. He was much more into wrestling than he probably ever would be in his life. And I used that to my big brother dastardly advantage. So I was like, okay, well, our next match, is brother versus brother, is Bret versus Owen. Bret's the older brother, so I'll be Bret, and you can be Owen, and whoever wins their match, can win the next match. And so that was the only time I let Garrett beat me. Yeah, I think he appreciated it, but he didn't appreciate me making him see the lights every single time thereafter. Wah. So many sharpshooters in the backyard of my home in Buffalo.
I probably put my cousins in sharp. Oh God, so many sharp. They probably hate my guts. Childhood trauma. Like, what was it? He used to put me in this move, and they may not have even known what it was called. Like, he used to do this thing. Well, was he like, doing inappropriate thing? No, he just like would lock my legs up and put me on my belly and like lean back.
Yeah. You pulled a Fat Joe while he put me in a leg lock.
Right?
Lean back.
If you put that move on somebody legitimately, it fucking hurts. All right, I'm like,
if you lock it in right,
yeah.
Like, I could never get it quite like Bret. I mean, Bret didn't invent the move.
No.
And despite the narrative, the kayfabe narrative, he didn't learn it from his dad. He learned it from Conan, of all people, who was Max Moon in WWE at the time. And he had learned it while he was in Japan. I think it was it Masachono who created the Sasori Katami?
Maybe.
Scorpion hold? Sure. I'm not sure. But, like, Sting was already using it by this point.
Mm-hmm.
So Sting, in America, Sting was probably the progenitor of it in America.
Yeah.
But I think it was Masahiro Chono who invented the move in Japan in, like, 1987 or whatever. I don't know. But, yeah, but that's the original name for it, is Sasori Gatame, which is translates to scorpion hold, because when you are receiving the hold, your legs are folded up over your back, much like the tail of a scorpion. So that's why they called it that. But yeah, I still think Bret's is the best. He still locks it in better than anybody else. If you're in that, you're not getting out of it. If Bret puts it on, just the way he locks it in is just. The Rock needs to take note, because The Rock's sharpshooter is the worst.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, it's so bad. Other great moments. I mean, I know we touched on Daniel Bryan, but I think Kofi Mania is up there as well, man. Like that was almost as cathartic. Like I'm sure if I was, uh, I'm sure if I had more melanin in my skin, it would mean a lot more than it does to me, and it still means a lot to me. So like, I can only imagine what this meant to the black community. Finally seeing somebody of African, you know, he was an actual African.
Yeah.
Like he was the African American, sure, but he was born in Ghana. Like he was as legit a black man as ever there were one. So they finally, at long last, had somebody, you know, to be their hero to get that WrestleMania moment because they were robbed of it because Booker T was done so dirty
Yeah.
at WrestleMania X8, so dirty. It was, or not X8, 19. It was just shameful how Triple H just how he talked to him, how he treated him, and then in the match he hits the pedigree and waits forever to pin him, and because Booker T's just doing his job, he has to lay there. He can't kick out. He can't sell that. Oh well, you took too long to cover. No, he's forced to sell that the pedigree is the be all end all, even though he waits like 30 seconds to roll over and pin him after it. You know, between that and the not so subtle racist overtones of that,
Oh yeah.
it was nice to see them get away from that and have Kofi, you know, win. I mean, I know it means a lot to the community because I mean, you've seen the videos of MVP and Shad Gaspard, rest in peace, or power, or can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that.
Rest in peace. Is fine.
I'm gonna take it back if I'm not. But rest in peace, Shad. You were a good person, you're a great dad. But like they were watching WrestleMania from a bar, and they get all misty eyed over it because they know not only does Kofi the person deserve it, but the community, they deserve to have somebody representing them
Yeah.
in such a fashion. Like there are tons of white guys who have been champion. It doesn't hurt anybody to have a black guy be champion. It doesn't. Hurts literally zero people. Zero people. Like in Kofi, I mean he caught fire by accident because Mustafa Ali was supposed to be in his spot and he got injured. So they put Kofi in there. He had that great showing in the gauntlet, but just failed. And the fans were like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can muscle our way into another Daniel Bryan situation.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yep.
And it was fittingly enough against Daniel Bryan. Like, it couldn't have worked out more perfectly if you had written it down 10 years ahead of time. Like, it was. So, I mean, I feel like for me, it was a special moment simply because it was a guy who I thought always kind of deserved to be in that spot, but just, you know, he found the New Day and they were over and they were just, you know, they were always going to be a unit. I didn't feel like, okay, well, they're never breaking these guys up and they're never going to let them do solo stuff. So, okay, I guess this is Kofi Kingston's highlight of his career. And then this opened up and it was like, you know what, sometimes good things do happen to people who deserve it.
Yeah.
You know? So that was what that meant for me. I'm sure it meant something a lot deeper for other people, but it meant at least that to me, and that hasn't made my list for sure.
Right. I don't know. I see. Dudley's Edge and Christian Hardy Boys, the very first TLC match.
No, second one.
Oh, the second one.
TLC 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
it was the first of WrestleMania.
But yeah, the first one at WrestleMania, and oh man, you know, I mean, we're spawning whole pay-per-views off this one, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, this is. I mean, come on.
I can't think of too many other matches off the top of my head that were so influential on an entire generation.
Yeah. And carried a tag division for so long.
Yeah.
Man.
With 3 teams.
Yeah, 3 teams.
Like, 3 teams.
3 teams. That was basically
carried it on the back. Yeah.
Name another tag team from that time period.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure there were some. But yeah, it's just like
none that mattered.
none that mattered enough. Yeah, I mean, like, and I mean, on top of that, like, these guys were cool, man. Like, everybody wanted to be one of the Hardy Boys or a Dudley or Edge and Christian. I mean, these guys were cool. It didn't matter who you rooted for in this feud. Everybody was cool. It was cool to watch this. This was like the height of people at school with me, like, watching wrestling. Like, people that I never expected to watch wrestling would come out of the woodwork and be like, "Oh, hey, man, I like that T-shirt," because I would wear like NWO shirt or something, "Oh, I like that, man.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see, these 3? They would mention one of these 3 tag teams. And you see these people do this crazy shit, man. Oh my god!" Like, and this was it, man. This was like the height of that, like the height of the height.
Yeah. Wrestling was never more mainstream than it was in that moment, really.
Yeah, basically. I mean, just and these guys were basically killing each other and themselves.
And then you add in every team had their own extra that came in.
Yeah.
Because you had Spike and you had Lita and you had Rhino in there too.
Yeah. Everybody had their extra. I mean, but it's like how any of these guys, like, they gave of us so much, like they just, like,
it really did.
How any of these guys, like, there's 6 of them, they all still walk, some of them still wrestle. How? Fucking how?
Beats me, dude.
Like, are the Hardy Boys the TNA Tag Team Champions right now?
Currently, yes. Somehow.
Yeah, and
Edge is still winning gold.
Edge and Christian are still wrestling in AEW. Well, I mean, I guess Christian. Well, I don't know. Both of them are off TV right now, I guess. But yeah, I mean, they're both still contracted to AEW as active wrestlers. So.
And the Dudleys get paid to crap on AEW. So.
I mean, basically,
by WWE. So.
Yeah. I don't know. The most I've seen of Devon lately, he's been on, like, Stevie Richards' podcast. Fair. And he has his own podcast.
Devon is actually fair.
Yeah.
I don't mind Devon. But Bully Ray is, I mean...
It Bully's a dick. Yeah, Bubba Ray Dudley is a fucking dickhead. That's... If
you couldn't... I don't know if it could be any more obvious that WWE is paying him to crap on AEW on Busted Open.
Oh, I'm sure they are, actually. I'm positive of it.
Yeah. Like, they've pretty much commandeered that entire show except for Thunder Rosa. Like, that's it.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I mean, even with their status today, I mean, I know 4 of them are still wrestling. That's so wild to me because it's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
And they were doing things then that we all were like, no, when they get like 20 years from now, they are not going to be able to walk. And somehow almost
it's debatable whether Matt can.
Okay. Well, I mean, waddling is a type of walking.
He does like the stilt walk.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have any knees anymore.
And he still walks with gorilla arms.
He's still walking.
He still walks with gorilla arms. It's so I never got that. But I mean, of course, Jeff like stops to dance when he's supposed to be doing a run and save. So I mean, like, what can I say about those guys?
They live in their own world.
Yeah, they live in their own world. And I mean, you know what? Fuck it. It's made them millionaires. So
yeah,
let them live in their own world, I guess. But at the same time, like, it's undeniable, like, their effect on the wrestling industry and their, effect on the current crop of wrestlers. Because, I mean, without Edge, Christian, and the Hardy Boys and the Dudleys doing matches like TLC at WrestleMania, we don't have Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay in a cage.
No, probably not.
And if we do have that, we don't have it looking like it did. These guys like showed, like, I think on okay. This might come out terrible. So let me just preface this with, I just kind of believe this might be the case.
Okay. All right.
Kids our age and younger saw people like Jeff Hardy get speared off a 20-foot ladder and then saw him come out on Raw like the next night and realized that there was a lot of stuff that they could do in that like interim 17 feet from where he fell to the ring that was really cool without even risking that much. And so now we have people like Kyle Fletcher doing Spanish flies off the top of cages because that's still a shorter distance than what Jeff Hardy took that bump from.
Yeah. So what was it? It was from I believe it was, and this is a slightly deep cut, slightly medium cut, but there is a line that's repeated for ironic and comedic effects throughout the second Aladdin film, The Return of Jafar. You'd be surprised what you can live through. And I feel like it applies.
To the current crop of wrestlers, especially.
Yep. They want to create those moments, come hell or high water, and they don't care if they get crippled in the process because they've created that moment that'll live forever because the internet is forever.
Yeah. Like, some of them just have more wherewithal than I do. Like if I was John Moxley, there wouldn't be a current John Moxley because the first time somebody took a freaking electric saw to my forehead, I would have quit the business. Yeah. And I will still quit the business if somebody takes an electric saw to my forehead. Okay, like,
yeah,
this is what it is. It's just like, I mean, you'd be surprised what you live through, but there's some things that you're gonna expose yourself to. I'll be damned. You know,
like, I don't want you cutting my skull open.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, just because I can. It's not necessarily about living so much as it's about quality of life.
Yeah.
And quality of life, you're living, but are you living?
Yeah.
No, you're a vegetable.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's
it's nuts how influential that was. I mean, you could see it in the blueprint of nearly every match of every performer under the age of 40.
Yeah.
Like,
pretty much. And even some that are 40, you know, like, I mean, but
it's funny, like, our age group, our generation who are in the wrestling business were primarily seem to be influenced by one of three people or four people: Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, or Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. It's like those two groupings, and it's like one of those four people. If you were to put like all of the wrestlers between the ages of like what, maybe 35 and 48, and you put them on their pictures on a wall, and you blindfolded yourself, you spun around, and then threw a dart randomly, whatever wrestler that hit probably has one of those people as their influence, their major influence.
Oh, 100%. Every person that dart hit.
Every single one.
Every person.
I think the generation 5 to 10 years younger than that, it's these guys.
Yeah.
And this match specifically.
Yes.
You know, I mean, as much as WWE wants to induct matches in its Hall of Fame and is starting out with, in my opinion, one of the best matches of WrestleMania of all time, which we didn't even get to.
Yeah.
In Bret Hart versus Steve Austin in WrestleMania 13.
Yeah.
As much as that deserves to go in the Hall of Fame, as much as anything does, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't TLC 2.
Yeah, I kind of
because I feel like that influenced more people.
Yeah. Just a lasting effect on the wrestling business that it has.
Yeah. Crazy. I bet it goes in next year. I bet you anything it goes in next
I
year.
mean, it will now because we know they're listening to us.
Well, actually, no. Actually, it won't. As long as some of those people still work for AEW.
Okay,
If everybody's freed up by then, it goes in. But WWE are petty. So,
yeah,
and they've got all the time in the world. They can wait it out. How many matches have there been?
hundreds,
Literally millions. Like, it's fine. They can wait.
Yeah, they already have hundreds of years worth of inductees.
This is Bret Hart's third time going into Hall of Fame for some reason.
Are they going to give him a whole?
Who needs to go
are they
in
going to
more
give him
than
another
once?
ring, or like is this going to be just like a plaque? Like
I don't know.
Or is this going to be something
But
gaudy like the Warrior Award is? I mean, the Warrior.
This point,
like I get what they give it for, but it looks ugly. That's all.
Yeah. No matter what, though, I think it will determine once and for all that Bret Hart is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Who has more Hall of Fame rings than anybody? Bret Hart does. He's in there 3 times.
3 times.
And he's probably going to get in there more if more matches are.
Wrestling, the only place where you can get more rings than football. And
Yeah.
the only place where you can be in the Hall of Fame more times than football also.
Yep. It's true. It's absolutely true.
Oh, man.
All right.
I love
there's one more that I want to get to before we end, and I'll touch on it really, really quickly because we went at length on this one, and I talked again for almost an hour last time, but this one may be coming out of left field, but I remember so vividly the details surrounding this. I remember where I was when the Undertaker's streak was broken. And to me, I remember in the moment being just flabbergasted. My gas was flabbered. And, like, I remember just having that exact same reaction as every single one of those people in the audience. I was slack-jawed, bug-eyed, dumbfounded. Couldn't believe it. And retroactively, I think it was a good thing. I really, really do. Some people think it never should have been broken ever. I'm not one of those people. I think it was done retroactively with the benefit of hindsight. I think it was done the right way with the right guy. Because after that, Brock Lesnar was, who, remember, he returned the year before and kind of went like 2 for 2. Or 2 and 2 rather. He had 4 big matches, and he went kind of 500 with them.
Yeah.
But this one solidified him by beating Taker at WrestleMania, being the guy, solidified him as the final boss of WWE for a decade. And let me tell you, box office receipts do not lie. That guy, as infuriating as it was sometimes with him being around, or more accurately, not around.
Yeah.
Was a draw. He absolutely was a draw and continues to be a draw. He should be and remain persona non grata for his involvement in the Janelle Grant scandal. Completely out in the open. Cards on the table.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of what we're talking about, it was the right call. And I remember distinctly I never have ever felt that particular emotion at a wrestling event before. It was this combination of stunned and surprised and the knowledge that I witnessed history.
Yeah.
And that, something was gone that we can never get back. But that it was also maybe not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it was a whole combination of emotions. I've never before or since felt the way I felt in that moment. And I think that for that alone, whether you liked the match or not, whether you agree with the outcome or not, I think it deserves to be mentioned here.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you want to talk about the WrestleMania moments, that's right up there. Right up there at the top.
Yeah.
It's
I
definitely
agree.
top 3 if it's not number 1. Like it's for me, it's incredible. Just the impact that it had, the how I felt in the moment, the lasting impression, the butterfly effects that it had on everything.
Yeah.
Like it was just it was spectacular.
Yeah, it really, really kind of was. In the moment, like it just, I mean, how do you suck the air out of an arena with 100,000 people in it?
That
Just like that.
that you do that.
Because, I mean, that whole, you could have heard a pin drop in that motherfucker. Like, holy
Yeah.
shit.
Same in the living room that I was in. I was like, every single one of us, every single one of my friends was like,
Me and Katie were just speechless.
even
We were
the
both like,
people,
what the?
and this is the weight of it, because not everybody who was in that living room with me was a true and blue, dyed in the wool, dyed hard wrestling fan from the day they were born, like I was. A lot of those people were new fans, and they didn't have a lot of the context and a lot of the history behind it. That didn't make their fandom any less valid, for the record.
Right.
I'm just saying that they just didn't have the background
Yeah.
that I had. And even they had that reaction.
Like,
Not necessarily understanding the context of it and the full weight of it. And even they were like, whoa, what did we just see? Like, that's how powerful that moment was.
yeah.
And still remains to a degree. Like, I watched that back, I think a month ago, 2 months ago. I was just, I found it on YouTube. It was backwards,
Yeah.
to avoid copyright and stuff and everything. So like, none of the English was, all was backwards and everything. But like, I remember watching that match back, and it still kind of gave me goosebumps. I was like, oh, man, I remember this moment, and it just took me right back to like that magical moment of disbelief and just like, I mean, it was magic, man. Wrestling is magic.
Yeah.
Wrestling is magic, dude.
It's great. But yeah, complete disbelief, dude. Just like, what do you mean? This is over.
Yeah.
What?
And then they put it up on the screen.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
And like people start booing,
yeah.
and like,
that's what brought them back. Like, you could hear a pin drop,
Yeah.
and then they put 21 and 1 up, and it was like,
because then it was real.
yeah.
Then it was planned. Then it was, what was up, and they didn't like it. And they wouldn't for a while, but I stand by that it was the right decision at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the right
Because,
decision in
if,
hindsight, but
if Brock didn't beat him, who would?
True.
Like, what, were you going to wait around another 5 years for Roman Reigns to
Should've been
finally be
Sting.
over? Like, I mean, you put him against, I mean...
It should have been Sting 15 years before that. So, I mean,
yeah.
But,
like,
whatever.
before the streak was as important
Yeah.
as it would become.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, they should have... It should have... If anybody, it should have been Sting. But, he wisely... deduced that WWE would probably ruin his character,
And
because he saw all these. He was sitting at home collecting his paycheck because he was paid by Time Warner, and he did, he was beat up and everything, and a good part of him died in the ring with Ric Flair on that last episode of Nitro.
Yeah.
That's a part he was never going to go back to. It must have been a huge nail for him. So I mean, I'm sure he was sitting at home on his couch watching Raw and SmackDown at the time, and seeing how all of his former coworkers were being treated, and being like, nah, bro. I don't trust them to treat me with dignity and respect. And guess what? They were correct. He was correct, rather.
Right.
He was correct. And we know that because of how his actual WWE run went. They build him up, and they build him up, and they build him up, only for him to lose to Triple H, so that WWF could win the Monday Night Wars one last time.
Yep.
Hooray.
Hooray. Yeah.
Good for you. Like, This was what? 2014, right?
Yeah.
This was 13 years after WCW had died.
Yeah.
Why you gotta beat it into it? Like, why you gotta do that? Like, who is so petty and spiteful that they're gonna do that and rob themselves of business? Because all that kind of stuff does is harbor ill will in your fan base.
Yeah.
And sow distrust. That's part of the reason why fans like me eventually left.
Yeah.
It's because I just didn't feel like I could trust their decisions when it came to making the fans happy. When the fans are the only reason that they exist in the first place and are successful in the first place. We're the ones who buy tickets. We're the ones who buy merch. We're the ones who propagate social media and extend their reach across the world. That's us. That's us.
Yeah.
We are the ones with the power. And they, up until recently, decided that wasn't the case. We were not customers, we were marks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that moment was the right decision at the right time. From a business standpoint. Ironically, from a business standpoint and not a fan reaction standpoint.
Yeah.
They actually got that one right despite us, not because of us.
Yep. Proving that we're not always right, but
We're not always right.
Man,
I mean, I feel like even when we're not right, you should try to appease us.
At least try. Yeah.
And certainly not, spite us, just to do it, especially back before there was competition other people could run to. But especially not now when there is competition that they can run to. But in any case, I think that's as good a place as any to stop for this week. So, as Aaron said, next week we're going to be doing another watch along because for some reason they put 3 major shows on Sundays in the span of 2 months.
Yep.
So
we're gonna watch along.
I mean, granted, it's WrestleMania night 2. So, I mean, they weren't going to put night 1 on a Friday.
Yeah.
So, in any case, yep, we encourage you to listen along for your second run through of WrestleMania Night 2 with us when we drop next week.
Yep. And as always, thanks for listening, and keep your head up out there. We love y'all. Be safe.
Love you.
Bye. Peace.